What's up, my good people of the internet? Dan Tortora here with you, hanging out where sports truly meets that thing called life. I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful morning this morning. And we are back in the studios. As you know, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we were on the road with Murph, hanging out in Murph's studio yesterday as we were out in Philadelphia for the Fishtown Card Show for the second time ever. Went and did the Fishtown Card Show again, and it was awesome the first time, even better the second time, out there at Rivers Casino in Philadelphia. So shout out to the Fishtown Card Show. We had a great time, and sold a lot, bought a lot, traded, had a good time, and definitely added to the collection. You can go back and check out what I added and what Murph added by seeing our show that we did yesterday, which is up on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. You can go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you can go to facebook.com/wakeupcalldt and find us there as well. So make sure you're connecting with us on both, and we appreciate you so very much for tuning in to where sports meets that thing called life. So a lot of great stuff coming up, a lot of awesome things here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we cannot thank you enough for coming out to the Fishtown Card Show, for coming over to our booths. 119 is where I was. Murph was at 120. We were literally going right into the door in that hallway as you enter in to the event. So awesome event at Fishtown. Go back and watch that video. A lot of cool stuff. Speaking of cards, I'm wearing my Panini Player of the Day card, and I'm so honored to be wearing this shirt because there was a Panini Player of the Day sweepstakes that we talked about, and I should say awesome kind of event going on with Panini, and they had the event all throughout the country, and apparently, kind of whatever sports card places wanted to do it. GG Cards and Breaks was one of the places that did it, and I bought stuff there. You had to buy something football related, and then you'd be put into that challenge. You'd get cards that you can't buy anywhere in these packs. There'd be a couple cards, and so you get into that. I ended up winning one of the weekly challenges, and then won the challenge that was throughout the entire event at GG Cards and Breaks, which gave me, I think I have the card here in the studio. I might have put it in the, oh no, it's right here. So I won this card, my James Cook auto, and it is numbered to 15 in the world. It is number 12 out of 15. So you can see it right there. I won this at GG Cards and Breaks through the random drawing. So big, awesome thank you to GG Cards and Breaks for doing it. Thanks to Panini for doing Player of the Day. So I'm wearing the t-shirt that was part of my winning basket that I got, and happy to wear it today as we will be doing something really cool on the show. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We're going to talk about the NFL Draft while we open a box of cards from GG Cards and Breaks. So we're going to do a live box break of NFL cards while talking about the NFL Draft. Awesome. Something we've never done before on Wake Up Call. Cool to make some history here with you this morning in Central and Upstate New York, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the world. GG Cards and Breaks presenting this segment, of course. Then at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Denai Bowman is going to be joining me in the newest edition of the Bearcat Breakroom, and that coming on the heels of her winning the John Bilos Award for her outstanding achievements as a female athlete at Binghamton University. And then we will get into the ingredients to success to round out our Tuesday show, as always, proudly presented by Avicolli. So a lot of great stuff coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. So very, very excited to share this with you. Very excited to have some fun here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Of course, you're watching and listening all around the world on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So we appreciate wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching from. We thank you so much. And like I said, we're going to have some fun here this morning, doing something unique that we've never done before. and that is to do our NFL talk while doing a box break. So talking about the NFL while opening a box of NFL cards from Panini. I have never opened Zenith before, so this is really cool for me as well too, because it's a box that has never been opened. It's a product that I have never even looked at. So very excited for this. I liked Skybox Z-Force back in the day, the basketball ones. So I saw the Z for Zenith, and it reminded me of the Z-Force, and I was like, man, I want to get a box of those. And the thing is, and I tell you this all the time, at GG Cards and Breaks, when you see, when we share on social media and they put up on their social media that they got, something going on, and you have the opportunity to, go over to GG Cards and Breaks, which is open 7 days a week, to go and get something. When they say like, hey, we brought in a new product, come over and get it now. Well, I literally tried to do that. I tried to go over and get it now, and it was already gone. This was gone within a couple hours, was when they first got in the Panini Zenith. So I was like, oh man, I was like, it went so fast. And so now I have the opportunity to open this box with you after wanting to get one of these boxes. And GG Cards and Breaks has a lot of people. They have a lot of loyal customers that come in, and so they picked this up before, and now I got mine. So we're going to be opening this today. This is going to be a live box break, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks, of Panini Zenith Football 2023. And that's my guy on the front that I covered in college. That is Zay Flowers, my wonderful listeners and readers and fans and all you wonderful supporters out there. We're opening the Mega Box, and we're going to do it while talking about the NFL Draft. So a lot of fun we're going to have here this morning as we discuss the draft, and my thoughts, something on all 32 teams while we're opening this thing. So a lot of great stuff coming up where sports meets life here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So without further ado, why don't we open up this box of cards and see what we got inside of it. So I already took the plastic off so that we don't have to worry about that. And let's see here. Take our packs out. Really nice looking packs too. So we got 6 packs all together. It says that we can find 1 autograph or memorabilia card per box on average. And the blaster box will give you 24 cards. The mega box will give you 84 cards. And that you also get 4 parallels, including 1 retail exclusive no huddle parallel. So we're going to unbox this from GG Cards and Breaks. We're going to do it here this morning. Box breaking it up. Very excited to do it. So for those of you here on our live feed, welcome to our box break, and welcome to this opportunity of having some fun here where sports meets life. So let's get to the box break. We appreciate you being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And like I said, we will be discussing the NFL draft while we unbox this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So I want to get started with that for a second here. We're going to go by division, so I make sure I say something about every single team. So let's go ahead and start here. We always go AFC then NFC. So we do AFC, we do East, West, North, South is how we go here. So let's go with the AFC East, and we're going to start things off with the Buffalo Bills in alphabetical order. The Buffalo Bills confused me. I think they confused their fans, and they definitely confused me in this draft. When they made the decision to allow an adversary that consistently beats them in the playoffs, when they allowed the Kansas City Chiefs to take their 28th pick for them to go to the Chiefs' 32nd pick. So they rolled down for the Chiefs in order to get that pick there at 28. The Chiefs had Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs beat the Bills a few seasons ago in 13 seconds. Because Tyreek Hill can catch a ball and do crazy things with it. Then Tyreek decides to go to Miami. So you don't have to deal with him anymore on Kansas City with Pat Mahomes thrown to him. You got to deal with him in division, but you don't have to deal with him in Kansas City. Fast forward to the draft, 2024. Bills have the 28th pick. Guys are falling to them. Wide receivers just falling down the board. The Bills run away from the 28th pick to get the 32nd pick, switch picks with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs draft with the Bills pick Xavier Worthy, the fastest player in the draft, 4.2140 out of Texas. And you sit here and scratch your head and say to yourself, did they just let the Chiefs take the guy that is going to now run all over them and, catch the ball and take off all over them? So crazy turn of events inside of the NFL draft, but that's what happened. So I put out something that said that the Bills went wide right on the first round of the NFL draft. And it was a head scratcher. By all stretches of the imagination, it was a head scratcher. So that situation for Buffalo, speaking on them, that's probably the thing that sticks out the most, because then they had the 32nd overall pick, and then they decided to trade that to the Carolina Panthers so Carolina could get Xavier Legette in the first round, who is another wide receiver, and then the Bills went into the second round, and their first pick was Keon Coleman, who they drafted out of the Florida State, and picked up Keon Coleman so that they could get their first player of the draft and their receiver here. He's at 6'3", 213 pounds. Shout out to my grandpa. Our numbers are 21 and 13, and they show up together as 213. Keon Coleman goes first here, and then they go with Cole Bishop, a safety out of Utah. I said they needed more help at linebacker and at DB because of injuries they've had. Then they went and got one of my guys, Dwayne Carter. Awesome stuff here. A third round, they pick up Dwayne Carter, defensive tackle out of Duke. Now they have Ed Oliver, who I covered in college at Houston. They have Dwayne Carter, who I covered at Duke. They got other guys throughout here that I've covered as well. Then they got a name of probably the longest name I've ever seen in Bills history. Georgia center in the 5th round, Cedric Van Pran Granger, that they went and picked up. They got an edge rusher, they got a linebacker, they got a cornerback, an offensive tackle, an offensive guard. So they definitely went into this draft thinking offensive line later on here from the 5th round down. They had a bunch of picks for the Buffalo Bills, which is a good thing, so they could bring some guys here. Mitch Morrissey's not on the team anymore. He's with the Jacksonville Jaguars at center. So to draft a center in the 5th round and then go get some offensive linemen later on, get a linebacker, get an edge rusher, get a corner. They really focused on making sure that their defense was taken care of outside of drafting one wide receiver and drafting a running back, Ray Davis, out of Kentucky in the 4th round. A little bit of a head scratcher. They have James Cook, and, so I don't really understand the move on that side of things, but they do end up taking a running back there. So we'll see what Buffalo does from here, but I'm surprised that they didn't take more than one wide receiver, and I'm surprised that they traded out of the first round. For those of you watching and listening that are just tuning in, we are doing a live box break, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks, of 2023 Panini Zenith football. Doing it differently, though, as we are talking about the NFL draft while we open this box. So we got 6 packs. I am going to open I'm going to open this pack first. Let's see what we got here. And, of course, we'll have our top loaders and everything ready for after this to put these in there. So let's see. The Zenith is looking pretty cool. It's got bright lights. Looks like they're on television. We got DK Metcalf. Let's see what we got here. So we got some DK. These are our bases. This is going to you, Johnny. Jared Goff on the Lions. Daniel Jones, who I covered in college out of Duke. Sam Hubbard. Oh, this is cool. I got the traded quarterbacks in the same pack here. I got Jared Goff and Matty Stafford in the same pack. Going to you, Johnny. Desmond Ridder, who's now a Cardinal. Harrison Butker. Good kicker out there. We have Jair Alexander, who I covered in college out of Louisville. We have A.J. Brown in his Philly uniform. Oh, we got something good coming up here. Oh, that's a cool looking card. We have Joe Mixon. This card is cool. This is a thick card. So we got a class president Eli Manning card here. So that's a cool one for you Giants fans out there. So we got a class president Eli Manning card. That's going to go ahead and be top loaded. We're going to put this over here. And, ooh, hello. I'm going to show that one last. We have a red parallel Keely Ringo from the Philadelphia Eagles. I like Keely Ringo. And then we have Jacorian Bennett of the Raiders. So these are both rookie cards of Keely Ringo and Jacorian Bennett. So I'm going to take the rooks. I'm going to put them over here. And this card, another insert that we got here, folks. This is a behind the numbers Anthony Richardson. It's a nice looking card. So a nice start to our Panini Zenith, and appreciate those of you that are watching and listening. We're talking NFL draft while we're opening a box of Panini Zenith, the mega box. So having some fun here, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks. We're going to get into the next team here, and I'm going team by team, giving you a note on the. We're going to be breaking down the NFL draft over the next few days, coming weeks, and whatnot. But I wanted to make sure that today, as we did this unboxing, we did it in a unique and fun way while we discuss the draft itself, giving you a note on each team. So Miami goes with Chop Robinson. I had him going in the first round. They drafted him 21st overall. I thought they might go Xavier Worthy to have two of the fastest guys in the NFL with Tyreek Hill and Xavier Worthy, but they did not. So they go with Chop. They're going to be chopping it up with him. He is out of Penn State, and he's an edge rusher, so that gives them some defensive help. They didn't have a lot of picks in the draft. They had nobody in the third round. They took an offensive tackle. They took a running back. They took another edge. They took a wide receiver out of Virginia, Malik Washington, later on. And then they took Taj Washington out of USC in the 7th round. So they got more wide receivers than the Buffalo Bills in the same division, when I think the Bills are the ones that needed the receivers, but Miami went and did that instead. So some notes here on Miami. Then to New England. New England drafts Drake May. No surprise. I predicted this one, that Drake May was going to go 3rd overall to the Patriots. I was saying Washington, but ultimately when I solidified my mock draft, I had Drake May going to the New England Patriots, who don't have Bill Belichick for the first time in what feels like forever. Then they went and drafted Jalen Polk out of Washington as a wide receiver to be added to the team. They got Javon Baker out of UCF, another wide receiver. They drafted Joe Milton III, Tennessee quarterback. So they got a little insurance policy on the Drake May pick, and they went and got a couple wide receivers. They got 2 offensive linemen. They got a tight end in Jaheim Bell out of Florida State, and then they drafted a corner. So they went offense the entire draft except for Marcellus Dial out of South Carolina in the early part of the 6th round. The New York Jets, folks, and we're going to be opening our next pack here in just a second. They're going back to their old logo. I thought at 10th overall they would go with Brock Bowers if he was still available at tight end. Well, he was. They decided to trade with the Minnesota Vikings, took advantage of Minnesota, in my opinion, because Minnesota, I had getting J.J. McCarthy in the 4th overall pick, trading up. I had them getting J.J. McCarthy wherever they were. If they stayed, if they didn't stay, I had them trading with Arizona to go up and get them at 4, but they end up trading from 11 to 10, and I think the Jets definitely took advantage of this. Maybe they made a phone call and said, hey, and this is just my thought, this is not the Jets saying this, but maybe the Jets called up Minnesota and said, we're going to take JJ. Like Aaron Rodgers, we got him for the next year or two, but we need a quarterback of the future. We're going to take him. If you want him, let us know. And so Minnesota trades up. They get JJ at 10. The Jets go to 11, move down 1 pick. They get Olu Fashanu, the offensive lineman, offensive tackle out of Penn State. A good amount of Penn State players going early, and I'm okay with this pick. I'm okay with protection, obviously, for Aaron Rodgers and for the quarterbacks of the future for the New York Jets. A little bit surprised they didn't go with Brock Bowers, but a good pick ultimately down the road. And then they got Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky at wide receiver to give another weapon. They already have Garrett Wilson, so some good addition there to the New York Jets. Then you get Braden Allen out of Wisconsin in the 4th round. They did not have a 2nd round pick. They had a 1st, a 3rd, 4th, 3 in the 5th, and 1 in the 7th. So they get a running back out of Wisconsin, Braylon Allen, to give some help to Breece Hall, I guess as an insurance policy because Breece got injured before. Hopefully he stays healthy. And then they went and got my guy out of Florida State, Jordan Travis, who I think a couple years from now will have the opportunity to be the starting quarterback of the New York Jets. So excited to see that. Very happy for him. Spoke with Mike Norvell via text message after that pick, and super excited. And as always, Mike, thanks for taking the time to answer. Then they went and got another running back, Isaiah Davis, out of South Dakota State. So a little bit of a head scratcher. Then they got Quantez Stiggers out of the Toronto Argonauts. Went and got a CFL player, Quantez Stiggers, cornerback. That's going to be an exciting story. And a shout out to the CFL for all the work they do. And then the last pick of the draft, which I refuse to call Mr. Irrelevant, Jalen Key went out of Alabama as a safety. How many times is Alabama having the last pick of the draft? So really interesting there on that. And with that being said, we're going to open up our next pack while we talk about the AFC West here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Unboxing Panini Zenith 2023 football, and this coming to you from GG Cards and Breaks on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open 7 days a week. Make sure you go out and visit them today. So with that being said, we're going to jump into our next piece here, and that's going to give us the opportunity to speak on the AFC West. And in the AFC West, we're going to start things off in alphabetical order with your Denver Broncos. So let's jump into Denver here while we open this up. No surprise here, Denver takes Bo Nix with their 12th overall pick. This was my prediction, and you can go back and watch it in our mock draft show happening on stage at Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville, New York for the 3rd year in a row with Mr. Al Romano. I had them picking up Bo Nix out of Oregon. They did exactly that. Then in the 4th round, they got Bo Nix as wide receiver Troy Franklin, who, if you're interested in his rookie cards, I believe I have a couple of them. I know I have at least one. So they're linking up those Oregon players again. Jonah in between, or that Jonah Ellis out of Utah, the edge rusher, went to them in the 3rd round. They didn't have a 2nd round pick. Then they got Audric Estim from the Notre Dame's running back that Syracuse has gone up against. So we'll see how that works out. That could be a steal of the draft in the 5th round, getting Estim out of Notre Dame, their running back. And then they went wide receiver late again, and then they went a center out of South Carolina in Nick Gargulo, and that's in the 7th round there. So for Denver, I mean, they went running back and a couple wide receivers, and then center, quarterback, and one corner there, one defensive player in the draft. So they're obviously trying to score the ball, which they had some trouble doing in recent history. Let's take a look at these while we talk about Kansas City. Michael Thomas, who's no longer a Saint, got him here. Next one that we got in this pack is DJ Moore. Then we got the quarterback of the new look Chargers with Jim Harbaugh as their head coach, Justin Herbert. We have Jahan Dotson of the Washington Commanders. Kyle Pitts. Hopefully he will be in a place where they'll utilize him in the offense. You know, Atlanta's had him, and we just haven't seen a lot of him. Hopefully the Go Gator will be getting the ball more. Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of Kansas City, who they decided to keep. Brock Purdy, his 2nd-year card, so not a rookie. Joe Don't Call Me Burrow. Cam Akers, now as a Minnesota Viking, started off as a Ram. We got some good stuff, I think, coming up here. Kyler Murray. We have a red parallel Devontae Smith. A lot of Devontae Smith at the Fishtown Card Show, no surprise. Here's some nice stuff. We have a refractor. Oh, I didn't know who this was. I looked at it quick and I was looking at the stars part of it. I wasn't looking at the name because it's kind of covering the logo here. I got a Zenith insert refractor stars of Travis Etienne Jr. of my Jacksonville Jaguars. That is I'm trying to be very careful with this card. Delicate, baby. So this is definitely going to go into a sleeve and a top loader. And then I got an insert of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes right here. Patrick Mahomes II. As you can see, it's all chromed out. So we got a Patrick Mahomes here, and his name is in cursive on the back. Schools, start teaching cursive again. How dare you not do that? Stop uneducating our children. And then I have a rookie card of Stetson Bennett, and it looks different than the other ones here. So pretty cool rookie card there of Stetson Bennett out of Georgia, the guy I've talked a bunch about on the show. That was a good pack. Started with a lot of base and then ended up with some good stuff. So, like some songs there, you got to start with the bass. So going up to Kansas City here, like I said, Xavier Worthy, giving you some notes on every single one of the 32 teams. While we do our box break, I'm assessing the draft here and giving you an analysis by making a mention of each team as we go through here to give you a broad paintbrush of what's going on. The interesting thing about Kansas City is they have a Kingsley now. So Buffalo has Kingsley Jonathan out of Syracuse, and now Kansas City has Kingsley Suamatala out of BYU and offensive tackle there. So, yeah, I mean, Kansas City went offensive line, which is very smart. They went O-tackle in the second round. And then they went offensive guard at the end of the draft. They got a center, a bunch of centers getting chosen here. Went tight end in Jared Wiley out of TCU as a backup there, or to cause some more havoc if that's even possible with Travis Kelce out there for you. And then they got a safety and a corner. So Kansas City, once again, the reigning Super Bowl champions, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, making, in my opinion, some good moves. The Raiders, they went and got Brock Bowers. Why? Because they love tight ends. They got Michael Mayer recently out of Notre Dame, and now they go and get another guy. So, look for the Raiders to be a little bit of a terror here. They've been able to beat Kansas City in the past, at least one of the two games. They play each other every year in division. Now they're bringing in another tight end and arguably the future face of the NFL at tight end. So I'm excited to see what that's going to ultimately look like here inside of the NFL. And then they went and got Jackson Powers Johnson, a center out of Oregon in the second round, and Delmar Glaze out of Maryland at offensive tackle. So assessing their offensive line, the Raiders did early. And then they really just stuck with defense. They got two corners, a safety, a linebacker, and then they picked up a running back late in Dylan Lobb out of New Hampshire. Shout out to New Hampshire. And that's in the 6th round. So, yeah, the Raiders going with Brock Bowers and then center and then offensive tackle. So a lot of blocking, a lot of big bodies up there for the Raiders in their first 3 picks. And then we go to the Chargers, which I jumped here alphabetically. My apologies on that. They went and got Joe Alt. So they pick up Joe Alt in the first round here, the 5th overall pick. I thought if Marvin Harrison Jr. was there, they were going to get him. They get Joe Alt. I had Joe Alt going within the first 7 picks, so not surprised here. Joe Alt coming to protect Justin Herbert and the crew out of Notre Dame, 321 pounds and 6'9". Dude's a monster on the offensive tackle. I mean, it's 6'9", closer to 7 foot than 6 foot. Crazy. And over 320 pounds. Then they got Ladd McConkey out of Georgia at wide receiver, as they don't have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen anymore. Then they stayed on defense. They went linebacker, D-tackle, corner. They didn't get a running back until the 6th round with Kamani Vidal out of Troy, and then they got 2 wide receivers late, Brendan Rice out of USC, and then Cornelius Johnson out of Michigan, who was coached by Jim Harbaugh, who will rejoin his coach in the NFL. Let's jump over to taking a look at the AFC North. In the AFC North, we'll start things off with the Bengals as we open up this pack. So, doing a live box break in the midst of doing a draft analysis. So, different from your typical box break, different from your typical draft analysis. As we unbox while we talk about the NFL, we're seeing what NFL cards I get. The Cincinnati Bengals, they went for an offensive tackle, Amarius Mims, to block for Joe Burrow in the first round, 18th overall, 6'8", 340 pounds. So you talk about Joe Alt, 6'9", 321, Mims, 6'8", 340. Dude's a monster coming out of Georgia and knows what it's like to be on a championship caliber team. And Amarius Mims, I had him falling but staying in the first round. And this is a good pick here. I had him going as arguably a steal, as I reassess the draft, and then we see this. Then they go Chris Jenkins, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Then they go Jermaine Burton out of Alabama, wide receiver. So they assess the offensive line. Then they go D tackle. Then they bring in another wide receiver to Cincinnati, and wonder what T. Higgins thinks of that. Then McKinley Jackson. He might be moving out of Texas A. Speaking of T. Higgins, McKinley Jackson out of Texas A&M, another D tackle added to the team. So 2 D tackles in the first couple rounds. They had 4 picks in the first 3 rounds, and then they went 2 tight ends. They haven't had a tight end for Cincinnati. They went with 2 guys. They went with Eric All out of Iowa and Tanner McLaughlin out of Arizona. Then they went edge. They got a center, Matt Lee, out of Miami later on in the draft. They had a bunch of picks here. So they went offense and defense, really spreading it all around and making sure that they assessed a lot of different areas. Amarius Mims, and then bringing in a wide receiver. I'm interested to see what this Cincinnati offense does and how it grows here. And let's take a look at what we got here. So we got Odell Beckham Jr. as a Baltimore Raven. We got Patty Mahomes. These are our base cards. Nick Bosa. Amon-Ra, St. Brown. Hassan Reddick. Massage Watson. Deshaun Watson. I can't take credit for that. Somebody else said that name. Tua Tagovailoa. Kenneth Walker III, who I covered in college. Who do we got here? Christian Watson, who I exactly said that the Green Bay Packers should take, and they took him in his draft. Saquon Barkley, who is now a Philadelphia Eagle. This one is cool. I don't have any of these yet. This is a blacked out Zenith with Aaron Jones, who is no longer on the team. He's now a Raider. But you can see that really cool looking card. Then we have a behind the numbers card here. So I have an Anthony Richardson. Now I have a Zay Flowers. These are cool cards. I feel like these will go on a GG Cards and Breaks trade night. So we got Zay Flowers. And then we got 2 rooks here. Oh, this is a good one. This one will go. We got a Will Levis rookie card. And we got an Emmanuel Forbes rookie card for the Washington Commanders. I've been getting a bunch of Emmanuel Forbes. So 2 rookies in that pack. Nothing wrong with that. So let's keep the conversation going here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. So the Cleveland Browns, my thing of note that they took here, they didn't have a lot of picks in this draft. The first pick that they took was in the second round, and it was Michael Hall Jr., defensive tackle out of OHIO, Ohio State. Then they took offensive guard Zach Zinter out of Michigan and a run on Michigan players. Then a guy got drafted, Jamari Thrash, out of Louisville, a wide receiver to help them out here. And then they went linebacker, cornerback, and D tackle. So they stayed on the defense. Well, so they stayed on the defensive side of the ball outside of an offensive guard and a wide receiver. Cleveland trying to keep teams from scoring, as we saw, the work that they did with Joe Flacco. And going into the playoffs, they had 5 different quarterbacks play for them last year. And ultimately, and I skipped over the Baltimore Ravens, didn't I? So we got to go back to the Ravens. But they went ahead and got into the playoffs with 5 different quarterbacks, which is very atypical. I don't know if that's ever happened before. And I would think that it hasn't. 5 quarterbacks on a team playing, and that team made the playoffs and got to double-digit wins in the regular season, but they were not able to stop the onslaught of scoring from Houston. So in the draft, they assessed their defensive side of the ball. So that makes sense to me here. And then going back to Baltimore, they drafted who I thought they would, Nate Wiggins, going cornerback here out of Clemson, another team that I cover. Then they went offensive line in Roger Rosengarten out of Washington. Then they went linebacker Adissa Isaac out of Penn State. Then they went Devontae Walker, North Carolina, another team I cover, wide receiver there for the Baltimore Ravens. Then they went TJ Tampa, Iowa State cornerback, so Tampa didn't get to take him. Rasheen Ali out of Marshall at running back. And then they draft Devin Leary, a guy that I covered at NC State, who went on to become the quarterback of the Kentucky Wildcats. Devin Leary utilizing the transfer portal and moving over from where he was. So was the NC State quarterback. Happy to see him go to Baltimore, get some work in. And so that's good for him. Yeah, I mean, Baltimore's draft, I like it. You get another running back, you get another quarterback, get some help there. Then, you grab a wide receiver, which is good because their wide receivers kind of, Hollywood Brown and Odell, there's guys changing out of there. You get some help on the offensive line, and then you assess your defense with your corner. So Baltimore's a dangerous team, but they needed to add some pieces, and hopefully this will help them go in the right direction, getting a couple corners and a safety. They also drafted a center. Lots of centers going in this draft. So the next piece here that I want to jump into are the Pittsburgh Steelers, as we're going to get through the AFC here. So Pittsburgh Steelers, we're going to go to Pitt now, and their draft, the notable for them, they took Troy Fautanu out of Washington, offensive guard, first round, 20th overall, looking to help their quarterback situation. They didn't have a lot of picks in the draft here. They did have 2 in the third. They had 4 in the first 3 rounds, so good for them there. They drafted a center in the second round. Again, center's going here. Zach Frazier out of West Virginia, so they went with 2 offensive linemen with their first 2 picks. Then they went wide receiver Roman Wilson out of Michigan, and then Peyton Wilson, who I covered out of NC State, and I've interviewed, linebacker there. A ton of people happy. Of all the posts I put up about the NFL draft over the last few days, Peyton Wilson is the one that was most shared and most liked of any of the players that I put up there. So Peyton Wilson, fans are very excited about him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm excited too. And I hope he has a wonderful life from here on out, and that he has an absolutely incredible career as well in the NFL. So a lot of great stuff there. Love that pick. They went with Roman Wilson, Peyton Wilson, and I think Rich Eisen said they just love going Wilson because they brought in Russell Wilson. So they got Wilson cubed as of this point if they add any other Wilsons. So pretty awesome there. But the Peyton Wilson pickup I like, and the offensive line obviously protecting for maybe Justin Fields, maybe Russell Wilson. So we will see what happens there in that respect. And then we're going to jump to the AFC South here and quickly bring this to you. And then we're going to have Denai Bowman on the show, and then we're going to go back to the draft here. So we're going to go back to the draft, and we'll cover the NFC, and we'll open these other 3 packs here. So a little bit different here. Unboxing while we talk about the NFL draft. I could have talked about the draft. I could have done the unboxing. I decided to do both together throughout the show, which gives us cards to look at throughout the 2 hours that we're on the air, and it gives us plenty of conversation to have with this wonderful box that I got at GG Cards and Breaks. You can go there in Syracuse, New York on 639 Delmar Place, right off of Teal Ave, Monday through Saturday from 10 to 6, and on Sundays from 10 to 5. And we have unboxed half of our packs already, and we're going to save the other half for the NFC coverage. But I do want to get to our AFC thoughts here on the draft, noting each of the teams in the NFL as I give you a draft analysis of the entire NFL's 32 teams, stopping on each of these divisions to tell you something that I'm taking away or thinking about after the draft. The Houston Texans, who last year had the second overall pick and went out and brought in who ended up being offensive rookie of the year, C.J. Stroud at quarterback. Then they traded up in the draft with the Arizona Cardinals to draft the third overall pick, who ended up being Will Anderson Jr., who I covered in college, and he comes in and he becomes the defensive rookie of the year. So you got the offensive and defensive rookie of the year. Looks like both of those picks worked out for them, and awesome for that. And so that ends up working out in their favor, which congratulations to the Houston Texans for being extremely smart in who they picked up. They end up getting back-to-back the offensive and defensive rookies of the year last year. So then Houston comes into this draft, and they don't have a pick until the second round because of what they gave up in order to get into the first round and go 2 and 3. Had the second, moved into the third with Arizona. So the first pick they had was early in the second round. They got Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia, cornerback, to help them on the defensive side of the ball. They still had a ton of picks, so don't feel bad for Houston. They weren't in the first round. They were one of 3 teams that did not have a pick in the first round, but Carolina traded in. It was Carolina, Houston, and Cleveland going into the draft. Cleveland did not, and Houston did not, but Carolina traded in with Buffalo to get the 32nd pick when they had the 33rd pick, which is the first pick of the second round. So Houston, despite not having a first-round pick, had 2 in the second, 1 in the third, and a bunch of picks here. They had 3 in the seventh. So they take Blake Fisher, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame, in the second round later on. Then they take Kalen Bullock out of USC, safety, in the third round. Then they go tight end, linebacker, running back, Jawar Jordan Jr. out of Louisville in the 6th round. Insane. In the 6th round, they get Jawar Jordan Jr., who was recruited by Louisville in a bunch of schools, went to Syracuse, transferred to Louisville, and now he's with the Houston Texans. He could be their return man. He's a speedy guy. So a team that has Nico Collins, a team that that brought in Stephon Diggs, who's talented, but we'll see how that works out. Hopefully he is a team player now. We shall see. But you have Nico Collins. You have C.J. Stroud. You bring in Joe Mixon as your running back, who's been with the Bengals since he came into the NFL. You have Tank Dell, hopefully soon. God bless, and prayers to him. And then you bring in Jawar Jordan Jr. Then they assess their defensive line with an edge rusher and a D tackle. They get another offensive lineman late in the draft. The Houston Texans look like they are firing on all cylinders here. And they're going to be a danger in the AFC South. They're going to be a danger in the NFL. Team's got to be ready. Leatu Latu went to came out of UCLA and went to the Indianapolis Colts, their 15th pick. Leatu Latu an edge rusher coming to help the Colts try and get after quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud and Trevor Lawrence and Will Levis in their division and beyond. Then they got Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, a wide receiver that I thought would go in the latter part of the first round. He drops into the second round. They got Matt Goncalves out of Pittsburgh, an offensive tackle that has been on the show, and so cover him. They got Anthony Gould, a wide receiver. So the Indianapolis Colts drafted a couple receivers here to help out Michael Pittman Jr., who's coming back. They got 2 safeties and a corner. So they went defensive side of the ball. They went heavy on the defensive back world. Then they got a couple receivers here, somebody to protect their quarterback, and Anthony Richardson, who will be making his return after really not having a freshman season, a rookie season, and they get an edge rusher with their first pick. So the Colts look like they got better. Jacksonville looks like they pulled off a huge, huge move in the NFL draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars were able to, I predicted them ultimately going with Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver out of LSU, with the 17th pick. They trade the 17th pick right when, in like the 11th hour, they trade it to Minnesota. Minnesota comes up from 23. They make their pick. And then the Jaguars go down 6 picks. But in going down 6 picks, they got another 5th round pick this year. and they got 2 picks next year, a 3rd and a 4th round pick from Minnesota. 4 picks from Minnesota for 1 of their picks, and they still get their guy, Brian Thomas Jr. So they come out smelling like roses. And then they get Mason Smith, D-tackle out of LSU, assessing the defensive line that needs a lot of help. Then they went and got Jordan Jefferson out of LSU, a D-tackle in the 4th round. So they assess their offensive line or defensive line by going and getting 2 interior D linemen from the same team. Plus they get a wide receiver from that team. So LSU, Baton Rouge, I guess has a home in Duval as the Jaguars take 3 LSU players in the 2024 NFL Draft, teammates rejoining each other. Jarian Jones, a Florida State cornerback drafted in the 3rd round, who could end up being a steal as they do need some help at the corner position and DB position in general. They tried to bring in a couple guys in Darnell Savage and Ronald Darby to see what they can do. They went for an offensive tackle in the 4th round, Javon Foster out of Missouri. I'm happy they got an offensive lineman. I feel like they should have gotten more than one. They got Kellen Robinson out of Texas at running back when they already have 3. That was a little bit of a head scratcher. That was in the 5th round. And they had DeAndre Prince out of Ole Miss, a corner. So they grab a couple corners in this draft. They grab a wide receiver. They grab a couple D tackles. They get a kicker because they don't have one. Cam Little out of Arkansas in the 6th round. And they draft Miles Cole, an edge rusher, in the 7th round. A little surprised they didn't draft an edge rusher sooner. But, I mean, Jacksonville, I would have liked to see more offensive and defensive line. I ultimately predicted Brian Thomas Jr., and that was correct. I was looking at assessing the offensive and defensive line. They did that within the first 4 rounds, and I would have liked them to get another O-lineman, but they went interior on the defensive side of the ball. They got a bunch of guys that are hybrids, that edge guys that can play that outside linebacker and also put their hand in the dirt as a defensive end. So they might have thought they had enough with the guys they're bringing back, and the linebacker core arguably being their best core of their entire team for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I can understand what they did. I would have liked to see a little bit more offensive line help. Maybe they could bring some guys in for camp. But getting Brian Thomas Jr. with Christian Kirk, with Evan Engram, with Zay Jones, with Gabe Davis, gives Trevor more than enough weapons, so there should be no complaints there on being able to move this offense. And the last team that we're going to jump to in the AFC in order of AFC North, South, East, and West, and I ended up doing that totally out of order. I did North, East, West, and South. My apologies on that. So it's been a lot of travel. But going to the Tennessee Titans here, J.C. Latham, going division by division in the AFC. J.C. Latham out of Alabama, offensive tackle. They end up taking him. I said that they should go offensive line. I had them taking Joe Alt at pick number 7. Joe Alt went pick number 5. So, like I said, in the top 7 picks. So they end up going with J.C. Latham after Alt was gone out of Alabama. I'm not surprised here as I had them taking an offensive lineman. I thought they might go wide receiver because in the past they can't help themselves within those first 8 picks to take a wide receiver when they don't need one, but they ultimately took, I think, what they need, which is an offensive lineman. Devontre Sweat out of Texas, a D tackle. So they went O-line, D-line in their first couple picks. First round early, second round early. Smart on that. Out of North Carolina, Cedric Gray, their linebacker. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. out of Louisville at corner. So a bunch of teams I cover here, and another team I cover, Jaquan Jackson, wide receiver out of Tulane, and another team that's James Williams, safety out of Miami. So they went 4 picks in a row of teams that I cover heavily their conferences, the AAC and the ACC, and then Jalen Harrell, Michigan edge rusher. So, I mean, Tennessee, of note, they didn't go wide receiver. They went offensive lineman, which was smart. They went O-line, D-line, which will help them out here as they step forward with Will Levis. And then they went linebacker, cornerback, and a wide receiver later on when they have DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley on the team now. So we'll see how that shapes out in their receiving core. And that's a look at the AFC, half of the NFL, and my takeaways from looking at their draft here, big picture, as we open a box of Panini Zenith. We're going to open the rest of this box, the other 3 packs, in the second hour coming up right after we speak with Denai Bowman after this fast break, bringing you 2 hours of NFL draft coverage with our box break happening, and within all of that, honoring one of the greatest players that I have seen and heard about in the college basketball world here in the state of New York. And in general, a pleasure to talk to Denai Bowman. She joins the show in a Bearcat Breakroom special right after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. It is an honor and a privilege to have an exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Binghamton University Bearcats. It is also an honor and a privilege to have spoken with this incredible student athlete for many years now, and Denai Bowman, who I've had the opportunity to speak with on site, on location, as well as to speak with over Zoom, over the phone, and now back with us on Zoom after winning the John Bilos Award for Outstanding Female Athlete Achievements at Binghamton University. I cannot say enough about Denai, and I'm always happy to have her on the show. She's picture in picture with us. Miss Bowman, how are we doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Denai, I mean, we look back on your history at Binghamton, and it is vast. There is so many wonderful achievements. You stood up and made a speech yesterday and, had the opportunity to win this incredible award and then stand up on the stage and speak with your fellow student athletes and the community about what matters to you. Bring me into that speech and what you really wanted to focus on in your message.
Yeah, so the purpose of the speech was just to really highlight the significance of having a why. I think that's what's gotten me through these last 5 years of Binghamton. just striving for that purpose as an athlete and just as a human overall. It allowed me to take out all the distractions in my life and just focus on why I'm really here. And then I think the speech is it really why, because what I had said in the speech, I always want to be a greater version of myself. So I know that I struggle with public speaking. I don't like it, but since my purpose was higher, since I knew what my why was, it allowed me to do the speech and accomplish that in my life.
And like you said, focusing on your why helped to take the distractions out of your life, helped you to.
So I definitely think it changed like throughout my years here. But the current why like started to click for me and everything started flowing and yeah, my junior year is definitely the year that I figured out my why and started pushing towards that.
So, how would you describe your why? What it is, like you said, it's evolved over time. It's what it is today, coming in your junior year. How would you describe what it is now?
So how I would describe it is like I always, as I just mentioned, I want to be a greater version of myself. So I push to be the future me.
Yeah.
So when I like think about my why, like I'm thinking about what do I want to look like in the next 5 years? What is the type of person I want to be? So like I strive myself, I push myself every day to be that person, and that just helps me focus on the person I am now. So it gives me a deeper drive. And then when I become that person, I think about the next 5 years and where I want to be and who I want to be, and continue pushing myself to that limit. So my why remains me, the future version of myself.
And I love that, always striving forward, always looking for what is going to come next for you, to appreciate the moment and at the same time to be building toward the future. How do you balance that? How do you balance taking the time to stop and appreciate where you're at, and at the same time to remain focused on the task at hand, on your desires and your hopes and your dreams for the future? How do you look to the future while also appreciating the present?
That I think that's the most difficult thing. I think I always like in my younger years as like a freshman and sophomore, I think like I've always like wanted to be greater and do more and be better in every type of way, but I never sat back and realized like wow, like I've actually already accomplished a lot in my life. So I think definitely like with the help of like our associate head coach Coach Newman, and just the help of everybody around me, like they kept telling me and kept like reminding me to enjoy what you have done and like appreciate all the things you have done, but still be able to push yourself to new levels. So definitely like just with time, I think I've learned to appreciate the moment, but also to look forward to the future.
I'm going to read off when you got honored as the outstanding female athlete award here for what you've done. There are so many things to look at in your vast career. If anybody goes to bubearcats.com, clicks on your profile, there's so much information that we can look at and we can stop on. Looking at your career highs: points 27 against Lehigh, field goals 12 against Lehigh, field goal attempts 24 against Lehigh, 3-point field goals, which is something that we didn't see a lot from for you, but we know that that's happened 4 different times that you've had here. We look at your reboundings: 14 against Eastern Michigan, assists 7 3 times most recently that happened for you in a Hartford game and whatnot. We could go through all of that. We can also, take a look at how many games that you appeared in this past season alone. I'm going to read off what is here for you. You appeared in and it started in 26 games this season. You were named second team all conference for the second year in a row. Should have been first team, but that's my opinion. You you were named to the America East all tournament team after averaging 18.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1 block in a pair of games. You led the team and ranked 9th in the America East with 12.1 points per game. You tied for 7th in the America East with almost a block per game and tied for 8th with 1.4 steals a game. Number 10 in the conference with 2.6 assists per game. 3rd in the America East with almost a 50% field goal percentage. Led the team in scoring 8 times and in rebounding 5 times for Binghamton. Reached double figures in scoring 16 times in those 26 games, including 4 games with at least 20 points. Scored a game high and season best 24 points. Grabbed 5 rebounds, dished out 4 assists, recorded a block and a steal in the America East quarterfinal win over Bryant on March 8th, as well as 21 points against Albany, UMass Lowell, and UMass Lowell later on in the season as well, so twice against them. 16 points and 11 rebounds against NJIT on February 1st. And typically in the America East tournament, the all-tournament team goes to the winning team and the runner-up, but there was a push by David O'Brien and Binghamton for you to get on that all-tournament team and for them to really take a look at that. And so you made some history there being part of the all-tournament team despite not playing in the championship game. So I'm reading off some highs. I'm reading off just this year alone. There is a list of, I mean, if this was a receipt, it would look like you spent $500 at the grocery store. There's a lot of stuff going on in this. And just what you can say, Denai, when you're honored for your outstanding achievements as a female student athlete at Binghamton, and there are so many of them, what do you think about? What do you spotlight? What do you reflect on when there are so many reasons why Binghamton has obviously shown that they made the right choice bringing you in?
It's funny because I was just walking around the arena and just thinking about like all the stuff that I have accomplished, and what I think about each time I like hear those accomplishments is just like the work that I put in to get those accomplishments. I think I worked like endless hours with our associate coach, Coach Newman. We're just working on our game, working on spots that I can score in, defensive things, and just grinding out like endless hours of basketball, film, everything you could think of. So like I think every like award that I get, every highlight that's made of me, I just think back to all the things I did before that even happened to get to where I'm at today.
Yeah, and like you said, you're walking around the arena just thinking about all of this. What is that arena meant to you? What is home meant to you? I mean, I love it. I think it's a beautiful arena. I think it's one of the gems of Central and Upstate New York. I think it's I think it's an absolute steal to have that, you know, in Binghamton. And at the same time, I mean, I grew up in Syracuse, and to have that be an hour away, every time I go into that arena, and I've seen arenas all over the country, that one sticks out to me that I tell people every single time. I'm like, do you know what you have in Binghamton? Do you know like how good of an arena that you have, not just for basketball, but for like events in general, that you can have right here as a crown jewel of the Southern tier? When you're walking around that arena and you were thinking, like you said today before you came on the show, about your accomplishments and your achievements, what has that arena meant to you, and what's it been like to call that home?
It's meant so much to me. As I was running out, I was like getting a little sentimental and all that. But yeah, no, it's like as soon as I think my first time on campus, as soon as I like looked at that arena from the highest elevation, it just felt like home. Like it felt like I needed to be here. And then from the past 5 years, it has never stopped feeling like that. Every time before a game, I'd always just look down and just be like, this is where I'm supposed to be. It's just meant so much to me. And all the work that was put in on the floor, like the fans that come out in the arena, like all of it's in my head. Like every memory that I've made has been a great one. And I'm just so thankful that it got to be the Binghamton arena.
And like you said, I mean, it means the world to you. It means so much to you. Bearcat Breakroom here, centering on the career of Denai Bowman, Binghamton Bearcats women's basketball student athlete, speaking on her journey in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Bearcats. Why did you choose Binghamton? When we go back all the way to the beginning, and you got obviously extra time there due to the COVID year, so you got that bonus opportunity. And by the way, in your freshman season, you appeared in 31 games. I mean, you have been a huge piece of this Bearcat basketball team forever, since the beginning of your beginning. So,
yeah.
Why Binghamton? What was it that just spoke to you the first opportunity that you had to say yes? Because you've continued to say yes. You didn't transfer out. You stayed that extra time with the COVID year, working on an MBA. So you've continuously chose Binghamton, but why did you do it the first time?
So I would say, like, I drove up here. One, I'm a sucker for like scenic things. So the leaves, everything was beautiful. So that was a piece of it, the scenery. And then once I actually met the team and we got to spend time together, like something in me just said, this is the place. Like the team like made this feel like home. Yes, the arena did, but the team like sealed the deal. So they just felt like an instant family. And of course, like the coaching staff, they made it a whole lot easier. Like them just recruiting me, it showed like they showed a lot of attention, more attention that other schools weren't showing. So that just made the decision a lot easier. And then that was the beginning. Then once I started like getting out in the community and actually seeing people that know me, like they made it just feel right. It made me just want to continue staying and playing for the school.
You go back to that coaching staff, Beth Ann Shapiro-Ord, your head praises to. I've known Beth Ann for many years. She sang your praises. I think you're the first student athlete's name that came off her lips to me. It has always been her love for the team, her passion for the team, her appreciation for the team, and the words Denai Bowman were a part of so many conversations with Beth Ann. What does she mean to you, and what will she always mean to you?
Yeah, no, she means a lot. Like I think it's so funny when I think back to like my recruiting process. Like she was always calling me up like nonstop. I didn't think it was normal. But once like I've gotten to know her, like it's normal for her.
Yeah.
But like that's a part of it. Like that's building that relationship. And I think she definitely did that. So she's done so much for me. I would say like she's a big reason why why I got up on that stage and said that speech, because since my freshman year, she's motivated me to lead in different ways. I like to lead by example, but she challenged me to speak out and share my opinion when I need to. So like stepping outside my comfort zone came a lot from her. So I would thank her each and every time about that.
You know, like you said, stepping out of your comfort zone and being a part of getting up there and doing public speaking, which you said is something that has been a challenge for you. What's your I mean, obviously you'll keep in touch with her, but what's your lasting kind of most appreciative moment with Beth Ann?
Most appreciative moment. There's been so many. Honestly, I would just say like I think when I was injured for like quite some time earlier this I was doing and just again pushing me to continue to lead. Like I think it's easy when players are injured, they just stay in themselves and like focus on getting better instead of like continuing to step up and lead off the court. So I think just pushing me in that way when I was hurt to continue to be a leader as I see fit to my teammates.
And it's easy, I think, and we talk about your career. When a player's injured, sometimes to certain coaches you're not valued, right? you're not out there. I've seen schools that and places and teams in general where if you're not right in front of them in that moment helping them, you don't have value. There's some schools where
Hmm.
when you're playing, you have value, and then when you're an alum, they're like, ah, well, you're not getting us wins anymore, so we don't really care about having you back. And then there's other schools that are the complete opposite. When you go to a school where you're injured and you're important, you're healthy and you're important, you have a 20-point game and you're important, you have a 3-point game and you're important, for Binghamton, for the coaching staff, for the administration, for your teammates, the fact that you were always important, no matter what you did that day, and if you were healthy or if you were, obviously not playing due to injury and whatnot. What has that meant to you that the value of Denai Bowman doesn't go down in Binghamton depending on how you play or if you're available?
Yeah, no, I think it just made my decision to stay here 10 times easier because they've shown me that from the jump. Um, and then from Coach Ord to our new AD, Eugene Marshall, to all the other administration. When I was like injured, they were continuously checking up on me, just asking how I was and asking how I was doing. So that meant a lot to me personally. Um, and then just of course like doing what I do on the basketball court, singing my praises. Then like it's like constant and so consistent that it just makes everything more memorable. Even to this day, like I still communicate with all like our coaching staff and like they're keeping up with what I'm doing next in my life along with the administration. Eugene is constantly telling me to uh, keep him in the loop with everything that's going on. So no, I appreciate them so much.
Denai Bowman here in this Bearcat Breakroom special, spotlighting her career and her time at Binghamton University. You mentioned Gene Marshall, the athletics director, and there's a nice picture. By the way, and I always wonder about this because I think about this a lot. What shirt am I wearing for the show? Like we're doing a box break around the conversation. We're talking NFL draft, so I'm wearing my Panini Player of the Day. When I get up in the morning, I have to think about what I'm wearing, why I'm wearing it, the purpose of it. So there's obviously some awesome pictures from last night. I'd love to get your thoughts on Gene Marshall, the athletics director, and what he's meant to you. I also want to know why you chose the dress code that you chose. And do you think about what you're going to wear every day as much as I do?
No, Gene has been so great since the moment he got here. I was just thinking about this like during the work cycle yesterday. I think he's really like brought a different type of light to Binghamton athletics. I think he's pushing not only the athletes but the coaches to really like truly win and want to win uh, for each other and for the program. He's just been great. He's so supportive. We crack jokes with each other all the time. So I definitely think our relationship can continue to grow. But in regards to dress code, I definitely did have a lot of thoughts about what I wanted to wear. I know I wanted to have something comfortable on because this is my first time speaking in front of that many people. So I didn't want anything with pockets. So when I get nervous, I put my hands in my pockets. So I wanted that, and then I just wanted something to kind of like pop. And then I think the white and green that I did wear it. I didn't want to wear white and green because I thought it was a bit cliche because we're white and green for Binghamton. But at the end of the day, it kind of it went nice with what I was saying, so
Do
it worked
you
out.
you thought about it obviously for last night, and the pockets thing I think is a cool little accent to the conversation. But do you
Mhm.
think about it in general? Do you have to make sure that because I mean, like, I'm thinking, did I wear this t-shirt within the last couple days? Did I like what? And the thing is, like, I'm on the air at least 5 days a week, so you're seeing
Mhm.
the shirt that I'm wearing. So do you think about that when you're out on campus in Binghamton or you're out doing your thing? Do you have a certain style and emphasis on certain things, or is it just kind of like, hey, I'm going to wear what I want to wear. I'm not thinking about it. Like, I'm just going out, going to class. How much thought do you put into it? Because I'm really being honest here, Denai, and sharing with people how much t-shirt thought I have in the morning.
It's hilarious. It's kind of a little bit of both. Like I think about what I'm going to wear, but at the same time, I don't care that much. So I guess my style is like a simple like hoodie or jacket with sweatpants and possibly Crocs or tennis shoes. So and then I like to color coordinate. I talk with my teammate Jaden about it all the time. Like I love my jacket. My jacket has to match my shoes, so it's like a sandwich. So if I have on a black jacket, I have to have on like some type of black shoes or black shoes in it. That's always like my go-to. But other than that, like if I have like, I know like I think about like, wait, did I already wear these sweatpants this week? Because I don't want to like seem like I'm wearing the same clothes all the time. But, but no, I mean sometimes it does just work out like that because I want to pair it with something else. But no one notices, or if they do, they don't tell me. But some thought goes into it, but not that much.
Yeah. Well, see, I mean, and that's the first time I've had the conversation about any of that in 20 years of broadcasting, but it does see your thought process, my thought, very similar, right? And then like you said, if I'm wearing the same shirt, like nobody says anything, but like you wash your clothes, there's just certain stuff that you like, but I'm very much like you in the sense, and I appreciate the sandwich. I definitely appreciate if I got this on top, I got to have the shoes have to match what I'm doing here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it has to go.
So before we get into rapid fire, Denai, a new coach hired, somebody I know very well. The entire time that she was a head coach at Lemoyne, I was around Mary Grimes. I met her the day that she was brought in as the head coach. So Mary Grimes coming down to Binghamton. She was at the event with you all last night and took some pictures with the basketball team. What are your thoughts on Mary? I know you're finishing your time at Binghamton, but what do you think this next chapter could be from your time with Mary Grimes, and have you had some time to sit and talk with her?
So I haven't had like a one-on-one sit down with her, but we've shared like a few conversations. And no, I think she's gonna do great things here. I think she's gonna push the girls to new heights and allow them to achieve great things. So I'm excited to see what she does. When I went to her press conference, I loved what she had to say. She seems like a very personable coach, and she wants to win. So that's always two great things. But no, I'm excited to watch and see what she does for the program.
Yeah, and it's definitely something exciting. That I mean, it's bittersweet because I'm happy for Mary being there. Obviously, I have a ton of respect for Beth Ann, but the thing that's sad for me is we don't get to see you again. We don't get to see another year of Denai Bowman with more records to be set and more, opportunities to be had. Has that hit you yet, Denai? Because, my connection to Binghamton and to the student athletes in not just the women's basketball world, but in general, that connection started with people like yourself. So I associate Binghamton with you. Has it hit you that you're not going to be there? Do you want a job in broadcasting so that I can bring you from my end and you can interview the basketball team? Like, how do we keep Denai around? So has it hit you yet?
So until yesterday, when I won the award, it didn't hit me. Like, I think once they called my name for the award, and then I think it was Dave Simic doing like the voiceover. Once he like said like all my accolades and like the highlight video was shown, I'm like, wow, like I'm actually done. Like there's like no more year, there's no extra year left. Nothing can really happen for me to continue to stay. So it's like I think I'm starting to feel like the emotions that I haven't felt yet. Like it's like I'm ready to move on, but it just feels unreal that I am moving on, if that makes sense. But no, it's definitely starting to hit me, but it's great. I'm glad I'm glad for what I was able to do here at Binghamton. But of course, like if I could play more, I would, but it isn't possible.
So what's next? where we talk about building toward the future and knowing your why and becoming, the future version of yourself. And then once you become that, keeping going. So what's next?
Hmm. So what's next is overseas. I'm going to continue playing. I don't have a team yet, but that should be in the works in a few months. So those are my next plans. And then if the opportunity does present itself, I would love to come and broadcast with you to just see that aspect. I would love to interview some of these basketball players to get their takes on things.
Yeah, well, listen, keep in touch. You and I will keep in touch. So, I'll be able to know which team you're going to overseas. But
Mhm.
absolutely, I can bring you on this side of the mic and give you an opportunity to do that. It'd be my honor, Danae, because you have done so much, and you and your teammates have done an incredible job. I don't think the win loss record shows what you guys have worked toward at Binghamton. So it's a yes from me that you could come on this side of the coin and broadcast. And I look forward to hearing from you and where you're going to be overseas, because whatever team gets you is not just getting a basketball player, right? They're getting a leader, they're getting a strong mind and a good person and a dedicated worker. So I'm looking forward to it for sure. And I'm looking forward to sitting back and getting to drink some water and take a little break while you interview some of these student athletes. That'd be fun for me.
Yeah, it'll be a blast for sure.
So let's play rapid fire. We've done it before. You get the first question. We're going to go back and forth for a couple here. What do you got for me?
All right. If you could visit one place, where and with who?
I just had this conversation yesterday with my dad. So if I could visit one place, I want to go back and see my family in Spain and Italy. I say go back like that's where my family's at. I've never been, but I would like to go to Italy and Spain and see family. I do talk to my family from Spain. I have to look up and see who's in Italy, but I want to go with my dad and my mom. My parents aren't together. My mom does not want to go overseas. My dad does want to go overseas. And so I cover the Jaguars and they play every year in London. And so I've had that thought of
Hmm.
like, if I'm going to go to their game in London, I would just extend my trip and use London as an excuse to go to Spain and Italy. So like go cover the game and then run around Italy and
Yeah.
Spain for a bit. But yeah, I mean, I would want to take my parents. So and honestly, I would love to take my dog Lily because she's just the best. So I'd love to put she, and this is the thing, and people think this when they don't like know me that well. They're like, your dog wears t-shirts and jerseys, like you're that guy. I did not pick that. She decided that that's what she wanted to do. Like she was exposed to the
Oh,
opportunity of wearing it, and now she will select her clothes, and she doesn't wear them all the time, but she likes wearing the shirts. She likes rocking the stuff. So I could see her
that is great.
little beret, little Italian shirt flag, little Spain love. But yeah, I'd like to bring Lily honestly because I don't even call her my sidekick. I don't think there's any better co-pilot of travel than my dog Lily. So I'd have to say that.
Yeah, no, that's great. Sorry, my teammates just walked in. But no, yeah, that Lily is that's amazing. It's so funny to hear that she picks out her shirts.
She does. So my question to you here, Danae, if you had to eat one food for the rest of your life every single day, what food could you never get sick of?
I swear some like three people have asked me this question in the last month. Um, on food. I think it would be I'm kind of gonna do like a category, so pizza,
Okay.
but not just like one like flavor. Like I hope like I could do like pizza, but just like different types of pizza. So like the breakfast pizza, do some different cheese. Like I like a good Hawaiian pizza, so I'll go with that.
That is actually my answer when people ask, because you can do different things to it. So
Right.
you actually gave the correct answer, Denai. What's your last one for me?
Okay, I'm gonna challenge you a bit.
Okay.
Out of all the games in my last 5 years, which one was your favorite?
It has to be, I think it's when y'all played Navy.
Navy. When we played Navy home.
Yeah, it was home.
Okay, 2 years ago. All
So I
right.
would have to say that game, because there was that. So that was a game that, like, at times it was like, is Binghamton going to be out of it? And then you guys fought back, and then you had a shot on the baseline, and from where I was sitting, it was in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, like, that's the game. It was actually, while we were talking this morning, that's the game I was thinking about. It was that game, because it might have been the first. That might have been, was that the first game that I saw in Binghamton? But it might be that game because of being physically there, seeing the team fight back, and then seeing just the way that you played, and like hearing about you, but then watching you play and then going, holy crap, like, she really is all that they're talking about and more. So I'd probably have to say that game, because you balled out in that, and I just remember, like, there was a baseline move, there was somebody fronting you there. I think you spun off of them, but it just, that sticks to me, that, and it was on the right side of the basket, that I go back to that game, and I go back to saying, like, Denai really is all of these things that I've been told she is. So I'd probably have to pick that game.
That is honestly a good game. I think that's one of my favorite games too. I don't remember the shot. I think all I remember from that game is like a few seconds left, and like they got it to their best player, of course, and I was guarding her. Uh, and then like she tried to make this backdoor pass, and I like stole it. That's like the one thing I remember from that game. But no, that was a good game. That's a good pick. That's the right answer too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, my last question for you, Denai. Okay, you know what? It's an election year, and I think about. I know that people might think I'm kidding, but I'm not. I was like, I've said since I was a little kid, I was like, I'm going to run for president. Not because I want any accolades, but because I'm just sick and tired of the fact that I don't think any side is working for all sides. So if you were running for the president of the United States this year, please do it today. But if you were running, please God. So like, but if you were running for president this year, who of everyone you know in your life would be your vice president? And what, you talk about public speaking, what's the first thing besides my fellow Americans that you would say when you won?
I think that's the hardest question I ever got in my life. Um, my vice president. I think I don't know. I don't. You may know him. I think Armand Harid on the men's basketball team
Okay.
will be a great vice president.
Why?
Uh, he just like he's very good at. He has a passion like when he talks. So like when he talks, it makes you want to listen. So it's like he could be saying like all the wrong things, but you think he's right just because of his confidence. So I think like that's a great trait to have, and he's good with people. So
Okay.
that's always good as that high of a role. And then what I would say, I don't know. I'm like so like not into like heavy into politics.
Yeah.
So um I don't know what I would say. I'd just probably be like, wow, I really did this. But no, I'd have no clue.
I would. Well, and like you said, you think about it, and I'm not a political person. I'm more of, I want to help the world
Hmm.
person. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I'd stand up there and go, whatever y'all have seen is done. So like, whatever we have had is over, and now it's time to do some better thing. I would probably say it's time to simplify this country, and it's time to show that the foundation of this country needs to be built together, because a house divided cannot stand. And it's time to show that we all really want the same things, and to stop grouping people into places, and to start showing that together we can accomplish anything. And if we truly want to build toward the sky, you cannot do that with each piece building something different at the same time.
And I approve that message. That I would definitely vote for you. You have my vote. So I expect to see your name in the election on the next ballot.
You can write it in, Denai. You can always write it in too. Denai Bowman here with us on Wake Up Call in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership, the Bearcat Breakroom, focusing on her successes at Binghamton University with the Bearcats women's basketball team, winning the John Bilos Award for the outstanding female athlete in her achievements in her career. Denai, I know that this is one of many conversations we will have. You owe me a broadcast, and then I owe making sure that I can release that announcement whenever we figure out where you're going to be playing. So we will keep in touch, but truly, as you know, I'm the same on and off the air. Thank you for everything you've done for Binghamton. Thank you for all the work that you've done in the classroom and on the court. And thank you for giving me time. You've always been extremely humble and very gracious with your time. So I can honestly tell you what I've told you before, that if Denai Bowman is not in the Hall of Fame in Binghamton, then what is the Hall of Fame? So I expect to see your name in the Hall of Fame, and I look forward to having many conversations coming up, because I know you're going to do big things out there.
No, thank you for having me. It's always great talking to you. You're a blast. Can't wait to see what we can do in the future.
Absolutely. Denai Bowman, your winner for outstanding female achievements and outstanding achievements in general. Denai, have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you soon.
Thank you, too.
Take care. Thanks. That coming from Denai Bowman one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I stick by what I say. If Denai Bowman is not in the Hall of Fame at Binghamton, then I don't understand the criteria. I don't think there's any question that she is a Hall of Famer at Binghamton University. And I look forward to the day that that happens. And I can't wait to see Denai at that honor ceremony and lean over to her and say, I'm happy I was right. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break. We're coming back with more NFL draft talk and GG cards and breaks. We're going to unbox the rest of our box break here on Wake Up Call. So Denai talked about the sandwich, right, of whatever top you have matching that color to your shoes. Well, we did the sandwich show, talking about the NFL draft, unboxing half of our Zenith box break, then spoke with Denai, and now we're going back to the box break. So little did Denai know it, but we did exactly what she was talking about. We're giving you the sandwich outfit on Wake Up Call here this morning. We'll be back right after this. Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also, I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was, selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And it is now time to continue our conversation in the NFL draft world as well as in our box break world. So my post-draft analysis continuing on here with you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. We opened up a bunch of our packs already, half of our box. We are doing a live box break while discussing the NFL draft. The live box break is 2023 Panini Zenith football. And opening our box here, 6 packs. We've opened up half of them. We got 3 more to go. And in the AFC, just to let you know, kind of going down the line of what we took away from each of them, in the AFC North, looking at the Baltimore Ravens and how they assessed what they were doing. They went after corners, which I think is smart. They brought in another receiver with some of those veteran guys not being on the team anymore over the last couple seasons. We look at Cincinnati, going after 2 tight ends in this draft and trying to help themselves out in that respect, bringing in a wide receiver as well. The Cleveland Browns, who didn't have a ton of picks, but had the opportunity to bring in some help there for their team. And Cleveland, in my opinion, when we take a look at the Cleveland Browns and the draft results by team for the Cleveland Browns and what they were able to do, this is a team that went defense, because offensively they did some good things, but defensively it was difficult for them to stop people, especially Houston, in the postseason. Then we look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have a couple quarterbacks. They brought in some help to block for those quarterbacks and look toward the future. In the AFC South, I spoke about the fact that the Houston Texans kind of built all over this draft. They lost their first round pick because they traded with the Arizona Cardinals last year to get the 3rd pick after having the 2nd pick. Those both worked out as the offensive and defensive rookies of the year, respectively, drafting C.J. Stroud 2nd overall in 2023 and 3rd overall Will Anderson Jr. And so in this draft, looking at the fact that they already have their wide receiver help, right? They have Joe Mixon coming in. So for the Houston Texans, the question was, where is this team going to go? What do they need to assess as they look to go deeper in the postseason and make a run toward the first opportunity that they've had at a Super Bowl, right? So their first pick that they had, which came in the 2nd round, in the early part of the 2nd round, Kamari Lassiter, a cornerback out of Georgia. And then they went offensive line, tight end, running back. But they did offensive and defensive line help. What I thought Jacksonville should maybe do a little bit more of. The Indianapolis Colts, in my takeaways from their draft, I think the Indianapolis Colts came out here, and they're going to be a better team. Hopefully Anthony Richardson is healthy and ready to go, as he really didn't have a rookie season. They went and got Leatu Latu out of UCLA, the edge rusher, 15th overall. And then they brought in a couple wide receivers. They brought in offensive line Matt Goncalves out of Pittsburgh. And then they went and assessed their safeties and their corners. So going offense, going defense, breaking it, doing really, a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball, and then some offensive line help and a couple wide receivers in Adonai Mitchell and Anthony Gould out of out of Texas and Oregon State, respectively, to help out the return of Michael Pittman Jr., who is going to remain on the team coming off of, this rookie contract he's had. He's going to continue with the team. The Jaguars pulled off the pick that I thought that they would get, Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver out of LSU, but they did it by trading 6 down to 23 from 17 and getting another pick this year and 2 picks next season, a 3rd and a 4th round pick to go with their hopeful 3rd and 4th round picks that they have already. Some early draft picks for them in that respect, which is awesome. And they got Brian Thomas Jr. They got 3 LSU players. That stuck out to me. 1 offensive lineman. I thought they'd get more. They brought in a kicker. They brought in a running back, a little bit of a head scratcher, bringing in another running back. But I'm hoping that Kellen Robinson makes the team here and does some great things. Brought in a corner that could be a steal in Jarian Jones from Florida State, and went offensive and defensive line in the first couple rounds. So did assess that. Their only offensive lineman being a tackle out of Missouri, Javon Foster, that they got in the 4th round, and Mason Smith at D tackle and Jordan Jefferson at D tackle are both from LSU. So not only 2 D tackles, but from the same team out there in the Baton Rouge area. And then with the Titans, my thing was they did not go wide receiver in those first 10 picks. Normally when they're in the first 7 picks, first 10 picks, you can't help themselves at taking a receiver. They didn't. They went with J.C. Latham. I thought they'd take Joe Alt. He went 2 picks before to the Chargers. So they went with J.C. Latham out of Alabama, 342 pounds, 6'6", and going to help them out on their offensive line blocking for Will Levis. They didn't have a lot of draft picks. They went O-line, D-line, and then they spent all their picks on defense except for Jaquan Jackson out of Tulane in the 6th round. Early in the 6th round, they picked up a wide receiver. And then looking at the AFC East and my takeaways there, I was really surprised that Buffalo traded out of the 1st round. I was surprised that they did not take a receiver until their pick, which ended up being the first of the 2nd round, which is 33 overall, where they took Keon Coleman out of Florida State. And for those of you just tuning in, assessing who we got here in this draft analysis, plus this box break that we're doing with our Panini Zenith from GG Cards and Breaks. When I go back to Buffalo, the wide receiver thing was a head scratcher. I said they went wide right on the 1st round, in my opinion, at the time, but they got a ton of draft picks through the draft here overall. They brought in my guy Dwayne Carter out of Duke, defensive tackle. They brought in a running back, Ray Davis, looking to help out the depth behind James Cook. And then, like I said, they got their arguably longest name in their history, which was the center out of Georgia in the 5th round, Cedric Van Pran Granger, that they brought in here. And looking at them, they went a lot of offensive line and defensive line, a lot of assessment, a lot of help there, an offensive guard, an offensive tackle, a center, and trying to get some help there on their offensive line to protect Josh Allen and give them some depth. So, Buffalo overall, I'm not balking at what they did, but I'm surprised that they traded out of the 1st round, and I'm surprised that they only took one wide receiver. And Zay Jones, by the way, folks, is no longer on the team. During the show, he was released by Jacksonville. So we'll see what that means for the rest of the NFL. Does he make a return to Buffalo? We shall see. So that's an interesting piece of this. The Miami Dolphins, my takeaways from them, they went on that defensive side of the ball. They got 2 edge rushers. They got a safety. And then they also assessed Patrick Paul, Houston, a team that I cover, offensive tackle. They brought him in to help out Tua Tagovailoa. And then went with a running back, Jalen Wright, out of Tennessee in the 4th round. We'll see what that looks like. They've been a running back by committee team for a long time in Miami. And they drafted 2 wide receivers later on, Malik Washington out of Virginia and Taj Washington out of USC. So we'll see what that looks like with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and the gang, and if any of those guys can shape up here and really make a name for themselves. New England drafting Drake May, I wasn't surprised. That was the pick that I had there. But they did go for another quarterback later in the draft out of Tennessee, Joe Milton, the 3rd in the 6th round. So a little insurance policy. And New England really assessing their offense. They only got 1 defensive player in all of their picks. They went quarterback, wide receiver, O-tackle, offensive guard, wide receiver, corner, quarterback, tight end in the draft. For the New York Jets, I thought they would go Brock Bowers. They did not. They ended up getting some help for Aaron Rodgers and their quarterback room, and looking at Tyrod Taylor coming into the team as well and being a part of the team again. They brought in Olu Fashanu, the offensive tackle out of Penn State, 6'6" and 312 pounds. Then they went wide receiver, running back, quarterback Jordan Travis, who I think will have an opportunity in a couple years to be the starter. Then they went running back, corner, safety. So they stayed on the offensive side of the ball. They did more offense than another team in their division that I thought should do it, which is the Buffalo Bills. We saw the Jets go offense heavy, try and get some weapons for Aaron Rodgers. Got him a wide receiver in Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky in the first pick of the 3rd round. And then got 2 running backs behind Breece Hall and Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin in the 4th round, and Isaiah Davis in the 5th round out of South Dakota State. And then when we take a look at the West Division for the NFL, we go to the Denver Broncos. They took the guy I thought they would take at 12 overall, and that's Bo Nix. Not surprised in that pick out of Oregon. Then they went and got his teammate in the 4th round, the 2nd pick of the 4th round, Troy Franklin, wide receiver out of Oregon. In between, they got Jonah Ellis out of Utah as an edge rusher. they needed some help in scoring. So we saw them go quarterback, wide receiver, edge rusher, corner. Then they went running back, Esteem out of Notre Dame, and who I've gotten to see play, and Devon Val out of Utah, wide receiver, and then they went center. So they only got 2 defensive players, corner and an edge rusher, focused on their offense as the team has struggled in the last couple of years to score and score consistently, I would say. And they've definitely needed a quarterback since they lost Tim Tebow. So they had Peyton Manning, went to a Super Bowl one. They had Tim Tebow, and beyond that, they haven't had a quarterback that they've been able to lean on. The Kansas City Chiefs trade into the first round, and after losing Tyreek Hill a couple of years ago, go and get Xavier Worthy, the fastest 40, 4.21. So that looks to be an awesome weapon for a team that's already awesome and amazing and incredible and stupendous, and put in any other word that you want to put in to describe the positivity of Kansas City's building of their dynasty with 3 Super Bowls they now have, and back-to-back Super Bowls they now have, with Andy Reid as their head coach and Pat Mahomes the second as their quarterback. Then they didn't have a ton of picks here at Kansas City. They went O-tackle, tight end, center, offensive guard, get some help for them, and then safety and a corner. So they look a little bit to their defense and a lot of it to helping out their quarterback and making sure that he's protected, and getting Jared Wiley out of TCU for potentially the future at tight end for Kansas City. Then we go to the Chargers. The Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. I thought they'd get Marvin Harrison Jr. if Arizona traded down. Arizona did not trade down, so they went with Joe Alt to protect their quarterback, arguably the best offensive lineman in the draft, offensive tackle in the draft. Joe Alt at 6'9", 320-pound monster status goes out of Notre Dame. And Notre Dame, when you look at their line, and I was talking to Dan Palladino yesterday here in the community, he said it's just a wall of butts. You don't see like anything. It's just Notre Dame, big guy, big guy, big guy, big guy, big guy on their offensive line. We know what they have done in the NFL and how successful they have been. And, you know, you take a look at the Dallas Cowboys years ago going and getting their lineman out of Notre Dame, Zach Martin, and how much he's meant to the Cowboys. Now Joe Alt will hopefully mean that, maybe more, to the Los Angeles Chargers. But Justin Herbert, they need wide receivers, they need running backs. They drafted 2 wide receivers in the 7th round in Brendan Rice out of USC, and Cornelius Johnson rejoins his coach out of Michigan to go with Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers. And then they got a wide receiver in the 2nd round, 2nd pick overall in that round, Ladd McConkey, and out of Georgia, brought him in. And then they went Michigan junior Colson, linebacker, who I thought might go in the 1st round. They got him in the early part of the 3rd round. So a couple Michigan guys, you know that Jim Harbaugh had some say in this. So he got a couple Michigan players to come with him to the Los Angeles Chargers. And then he got in that rivalry a couple Notre Dame players. Got Joe Alton, also got Cam Hart, cornerback, in the 5th round out of Notre Dame as well. So we'll look to see what they do at running back. They did bring in Kamani Vidal out of Troy in the early part of the 6th round. We'll see what the running back situation looks like with him and Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, getting 2 players from his brother's team, John Harbaugh's Baltimore Ravens. So maybe they feel like that's enough. I feel like it can be if they're both healthy. They really can be a 1-2 punch if they're used properly. Unfortunately, Gus Edwards would not be used when J.K. Dobbins was out there, and he would just kind of fall into oblivion. Then J.K. would get hurt. Gus would step in and be awesome with Lamar Jackson. I called him Lamar's safety blanket. Now, hopefully both healthy, we'll see Jim Harbaugh use them in tandem, and I think that that's the best way to do it for these guys, and I think they'll end up being great for the Chargers, arguably. Wide receiver-wise, we'll see what they do with their wide receiver room, but Ladd McConkey is going to be part of it out of Georgia. And then what did they pick up? Well, I'll tell you. They went with Brock Bowers. Why? Because they love tight ends. They talked about the fact that when John Gruden was there, he was a quarterback collector. Well, the Raiders continue to be tight end collectors. They have Michael Mayer, who they drafted recently out of Notre Dame, and now they have Brock Bowers who could be the face of the NFL at the tight end position for the future, and they got him out of Georgia. Been a fan of his at least for a couple of years. Really excited to see what he's going to do. Raiders didn't have a ton of picks. They went with center, offensive tackle early on after getting Brock Bowers. So you're looking at protection, and then you have cornerback, linebacker, safety, cornerback, and in the middle of all of that, they got Dylan Lobb out of New Hampshire at running back in the 6th round. So they went heavy on the defensive side and heavy on the offensive protection side for Aiden O'Connell and or Gardner Minshew II. We'll see what happens from here. I covered both of those guys in college, and I feel very good about Aiden O'Connell, good enough to pick up a bunch of his cards at relatively very cheap and collecting those for the hopeful uptick of him in the NFL. And I'm also a big fan of Gardner Minshew, who I covered, and appreciate him very much. So that's a reflection back to the AFC thoughts on the NFL draft. And my big cards that I've gotten so far in the box break, my rookies are Emmanuel Forbes, Will Levis, which is a good one here. My by the numbers, I got a Zaire Franklin. I'm thinking about the Colts right now in my conversations. A Zay Flowers here, who's on the cover of the box, who I covered out of Boston College. I think I just wanted to mention Zaire Franklin because I got a lot of love and appreciation for him. Zay Flowers here, got that insert, and I also got that insert of Anthony Richardson. So I got the 4 and the 5, which is kind of fun. And I got an insert of the Black Zenith of Aaron Jones, who's now on the Raiders. I got Stetson Bennett's rookie card, who I covered at Georgia. I got a nice chrome insert of Patty Mahomes with his name in cursive on the back. I have a Stars insert refractor of my guy that I covered in college and is on my Jaguars, Travis Etienne Jr., who just got extended yesterday. The 5th-year option picked up on his rookie deal, along with the 5th-year option for Trevor Lawrence, no surprise. A Devontae Smith base, but it's a red parallel from Zenith. A rookie card of Jacorian Bennett of the Raiders. A red parallel rookie of Keely Ringo. And a really cool card, a classroom card, a class president card, chrome of Eli Manning that is in black and white. Pretty cool there. So those are our packs that we had opened during the AFC. Now it's time to open the NFC. So we're going to talk about the NFC in the draft. We're going to go north, south, east, and west while we open these cards. And so this is the last 3 that we have. We have Justin Fields, base card, who's now a Pittsburgh Steeler. We have Keenan Allen, who is no longer on his team now. We have Sam Howell. This might be the no longer on the team pack. Christian McCaffrey, we got a CMC. He is on the Niners. We have Jerry Jeudy, who's no longer on his team. This is funny. Derek Carr, who is still a Saint. We're going to talk about their draft pick that I'm excited about here in this portion of our post-analysis coverage and box break, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks. Cooper Kupp. Zach feels so good at Ertz. Christian Kirk, my dude from Jacksonville. That goes in my special pile because being a Jaguars fan. Oh, we got 2 awesome inserts here. These are good. We got 2 quarterback inserts, and these are really, really cool. We got a refractor insert of CJ Stroud, and we got a red diamond looking insert of Will Levis. So we got an insert of Levis and an insert of Stroud for 2023. That's huge. And we got a rookie red parallel rookie card of Anthony Richardson. This is the quarterback. This started being the pack of guys that are no longer on their teams anymore, and it turned into the quarterback pack. Anthony Richardson. I got 3 rookies in this pack. I got Tucker Kraft, rookie card for Green Bay. and I got the rookie card of Derek Hall from Seattle. Wow. That is those all have to be top loaded immediately. So let's talk about, we're doing this box break NFL draft analysis together at the same time, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks. Let's hop into my thoughts on the NFC, North, South, East, and West is how we go. So starting in the NFC North, we are going to go to the Chicago Bears, who had the first pick. Originally, and I should have stuck with this, right? They say stick with your first answer. Originally, or and Bears didn't have a lot of picks in this draft. Bears had 5 picks in the draft, but their first 2 are the ones that I originally thought they were going to go with. And I went into draft night still thinking this, even though I went defense, and I don't really know why I did that, but I went defensive side of the ball, and I thought, okay, maybe they'll go 9th pick, maybe they'll surprise and go to the defensive line. They did what I thought that they were going to do. And my original thought was number 1 overall, Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC, who I got to see play live in the Cotton Bowl a couple of years ago. They go with him, which I'm not surprised. That's the pick I thought it was going to be. And then they did at number 9 in the first round, the pick that I originally had, which was Rome Odunze, Washington wide receiver. So not surprised at all. Then they went O-tackle in the 3rd round. Kyron Amagaj. I might be getting this wrong. Amagajai out of Yale, offensive tackle. Torrey Taylor. I apologize if I got it wrong. Torrey Taylor. I will get it right, my promise. Torrey Taylor out of Iowa. They picked a punter in the 4th round. Chicago. If you did that in my fantasy football drafts, you would be buying everybody a round. And Austin Booker out of Kansas in the 5th round as an edge rusher. So they only had 5 picks, but they had 2 picks in the 1st round, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 5th round pick. They drafted a punter, an edge rusher, an offensive tackle, but they got Rome Odunze, who I thought originally they were going to get, and they got Caleb Williams, who I thought they were going to get as well. So Chicago, my takeaways here are that they picked the picks that I thought that they would pick with my original take, quarterback and wide receiver, and they took a punter. We'll see what Torrey Taylor can do. Excited to see his work moving forward here. And for the rest of the NFC North, the Detroit Lions are next up on the list in alphabetical order as we discuss the NFC. And for those of you just tuning in, we're doing something we've never done on the show, and I've never seen anybody else do this on any show, which is do a post-draft analysis and a box break simultaneously. So post-draft analysis / box break, we're opening up 2023 Panini Zenith football while we discuss the 2024 NFL draft. Having some fun here, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. So for the Detroit Lions, they went and got Terrion Arnold. They got that pick, a 24th overall. They traded up to get this pick. They were originally going to be 30th, and they traded up to 24 to get Terrion Arnold, who was on my list to potentially go to Jacksonville at corner. They got him out of Alabama, 6 foot, 189-pound corner. They didn't have a lot of picks in this draft either. They went corner back-to-back. In the 2nd round, they went with Ennis Rakestraw, might be one of my favorite names of the draft. Ennis Rakestraw here, junior out of Missouri at corner in the 2nd round. Then they went with Giovanni Manu out of British Columbia, offensive tackle there. And then with Sion Vaki out of Utah. All of these names are not easy to say. Coming to the Detroit Lions. So they went ahead and got Vaki out of Utah, then got Makai Wingo out of LSU, the only D tackle out of LSU to not go to Jacksonville, and they got Christian Mahogany out of Boston College, offensive guard. So they went offensive line, and they went cornerback, safety, defensive line, offensive line. So looking at Detroit, they went with help to try and win the games defensively and be able to stop teams down. You know, they went with 2 corners and a safety and a D tackle, and then they went offensive line to block for Jared Goff and maybe Hendon Hooker in the future. So I like what Detroit's doing because I don't think they're far off from a potential Super Bowl berth. Green Bay went in the first round, 25th, with Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle, to help block for them. They had a ton of picks in this draft. Green Bay had 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, and 2 in the seventh. And they went with Edgerrin Cooper, Texas A&M linebacker, in the 13th pick of the second round. And not the 13th overall, 13th pick of the second round. Then they went with Javon Bullard, safety out of Georgia, in the second round as well. Marshawn Lloyd, USC running back, in the third round after bringing in Josh Jacobs and not having Aaron Jones. So now they have A.J. Dillon, Josh Jacobs, and Marshawn Lloyd. Somebody's going to get bumped out of that room, and we'll see what that looks like for maybe some movement in the NFL. Then they went linebacker, safety, center, safety, offensive tackle, and then they picked up, this is one I have circled, when I was at Barley Creek Tap House playing Bingo Tunes and winning a couple games of Bingo Tunes that I've never played the game before. I won a couple there, very excited, and a big time shout out to the host of Bingo Tunes and the staff of that, as well as the staff of Barley Creek in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. Had a fantastic time while I watched the Green Bay Packers get one of the absolute steals of the draft when they drafted a quarterback that I've interviewed and paid attention to of many years and had on the show more than once. Tulane Green Wave quarterback Michael Pratt going in the 7th round to the Green Bay Packers to back up Jordan Love. And Michael Pratt and the Tulane Green Wave are responsible with their entire team, offense, defense, and special teams, clicking on all cylinders to score over 40 points to hold off the USC Trojans in the Cotton Bowl of a couple years ago in Arlington, Texas, played in the Dallas Cowboys stadium. Michael Pratt going to Green Bay is a steal, as that quarterback took down the number 1 overall quarterback head-to-head, Caleb Williams. So Caleb getting drafted first overall, Michael Pratt going in the 7th round, and Michael Pratt and Tulane defeated Caleb Williams and USC in the Cotton Bowl in recent history. So a shout out to the Green Bay Packers getting a steal in the draft. And then we're going to go to the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings, who made a ton of moves here. They made a move with the Jets to come up from 11 to 10 to get J.J. McCarthy, who's the quarterback I thought they were getting no matter where they picked in the first round. I figured they had to be in the top 11, but getting J.J. McCarthy. And then they went and got Dallas Turner, who fell down the draft board out of the top 10. I thought he'd go earlier to Atlanta at 8, but we'll talk about what Atlanta did later on here. They got Dallas Turner 17th overall by trading with the Jaguars to come up from 23. So Minnesota trading their 11th pick for the 10th pick and their 23rd pick for the 17th pick to go and get J.J. McCarthy and Dallas Turner respectively. J.J. out of Michigan, quarterback, and out of Alabama, edge rusher Dallas Turner. Then they went corner, offensive tackle, kicker in the 6th round with Will Reichard out of Alabama. So they go and get Alabama's kicker. Then out of Wake Forest, they got Michael Juergens, center. And then Levi Drake Rodriguez out of Texas A&M Commerce, D tackle in the 7th round. So they went offensive, defensive line, as well as kicker, corner, edge rusher, and quarterback. So we know J.J. McCarthy very well could be their quarterback day 1. And Dallas Turner could end up being a huge steal for them at 17 as their edge rusher to try and get Minnesota some much-needed defensive assistance. So as we look forward from that, we also have the fact that we're going to go. So that is the NFC North. We're going to go to the NFC South. And the NFC South, I told you that we would talk about the Falcons. Let's talk about the Falcons while we open up this pack in our box break / NFL post-draft analysis. First time we've ever done a box break and draft analysis simultaneously on Wake Up Call, and the first time I've ever seen anybody do it. So making some history here. Jonathan Taylor, looking at my base cards here. We got a Jonathan Taylor as we talk about the NFC South. George Pickens, who will have Justin Fields and or Russell Wilson and or somebody else throwing to him. We just talked about Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy will be throwing to Justin Jefferson. So let's hold for a moment before we look at the rest of the pack, and let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons, who had the most confusing, head-scratching moment of arguably maybe the entire NFL draft, definitely the first round, and that was their decision to take Michael Penix Jr., who I had going in the middle of the first round to the Seahawks or the Cowboys. I had the Cowboys, and in earlier drafts of my mock draft, I was thinking about him going to Seattle. Michael Penix goes to Atlanta. I like Michael Penix. I like some of the things I've heard him say. I like him and what he did on the field with Washington. I think he's severely underrated. I'm excited for what he can be in the NFL. I'm just completely surprised that he went to the Atlanta Falcons, who just signed Kirk Cousins away from Minnesota. It's all connecting here on the show. Box break, draft analysis, Minnesota, Atlanta. It's all coming together. Minnesota having Kirk Cousins. He goes to Atlanta. They pay him 4 years, $180 million contract with $100 million guaranteed. Then you go in the draft and you get a top 10 quarterback pick of number 8 overall, Michael Penix Jr. So you think about if he does what he needs to do, you're talking about big money potentially with him, and you got big money you already spent. Who's going to take Kirk Cousins' contract? So what's going to happen? Is Michael Penix going to sit as the 8th overall pick? Will he sit for 2 years? So a little bit of a head scratcher, but I'm really happy for Michael Penix, and I'm happy for Kirk Cousins. Rook Okororo, it's a very difficult name to say here. Clemson, defensive tackle, second round, third pick in the second round. Braylon Trice, edge rusher out of Washington. So they get 2 guys out of Washington to rejoin each other. Then they get Brandon Dorlus out of Oregon, D tackle. So they go, after picking up Michael Penix, Atlanta goes D tackle, edge, D tackle. And I thought they were going to go Dallas Turner 8th overall. So I'm not surprised they went D line, and they went 3 D linemen in a row. Then they went J.D. Bertrand out of Notre Dame, linebacker. Then they went Jace McClellan out of Alabama, running back. I think this is a good pickup. Jace McClellan out of Alabama, 6th round running back there for them. That could be some help for them in the running back situation in Atlanta. Give them a little bit of an insurance policy at running back. You know, they obviously have talent at running back for the Atlanta Falcons, and they have depth there, but this could be, Jace could be some extra help here in that room. And I don't think running backs get enough respect in the NFL. I think that's a severe understatement. And, having Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, you now have Jace McClellan to give you some help there as well. So I like that pickup later on in the draft. It's the 6th round. Then they get Casey Washington, Illinois, wide receiver, and another D tackle, 3 D tackles, Zion Loge out of Georgia. Zion Logue out of Georgia. So you got 3 D tackles, 1 edge rusher, really going on the defensive line, which I thought they would in the first round. Head scratcher pick. And it's Michael Penix, but at the same time, I like Michael Penix, so I'm excited to see what he could do, and congratulations for being the 8th overall pick. Next team is Carolina. They didn't have a pick in the first round. Houston, and Cleveland did not have a first-round pick. Carolina traded in, giving up their first pick of the second round for their last pick of the first round, trading with the Bills, who traded with the Chiefs. So the Bills went from 28 to 32, then 32 out of the first round to 33 overall, giving up their 32nd pick to the Panthers, who came into the first round to draft Xavier Legette, South Carolina wide receiver. Then after that, the Carolina Panthers went with Jonathan Brooks, a Texas running back, after giving up Christian McCaffrey last year in a trade with the Niners, which obviously worked out for the Niners and helped them get to the Super Bowl. Jonathan Brooks out of Texas in the second round. Then a linebacker, a tight end, a corner, a defensive tackle, and a linebacker. So they go all defense in Carolina outside of going wide receiver, running back, and then tight end Jatavian Sanders out of Texas. So they draft 2 guys out of Texas in this draft, a running back and a tight end, and then they draft Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. So they're looking to help Bryce Young with Legette and Jonathan Brooks and maybe Jatavian Sanders. after having some really good tight ends over a span of years and ultimately, losing them to guys retiring and whatnot. So they do have Tommy Tremble there, who is the older brother of Jamie Tremble, who's coming to Syracuse. Tommy Tremble is still the tight end in Carolina. So Jatavian Sanders might be helping in a 2 tight end set, or might be something for the future. So we shall see what happens there. Outside of that, in the NFC South, we go from Carolina to our next alphabetical order team as far as their home that they play in, and that's taking us to New Orleans. I told you I'd talk about New Orleans and a steal that they had in the draft. They started off by going with Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State, an offensive tackle I thought would go in the first round, and around that time period, I believe. So they got him 14th overall, offensive tackle to block for Derek Carr and the crew. And then they got arguably a name that you don't think is real, but it very much is. Kool-Aid, spelled like Kool-Aid, not kind of, but exactly like Kool-Aid. Maybe try, like, I don't know if they had, like, did Kool-Aid call them up for a lawsuit? It's KOOL-AID. Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama, who I have his rookie cards, cornerback, going in the 9th pick of the second round. Spencer Rattler, a steal here in the 5th round out of South Carolina, quarterback, going to New Orleans. Very smart pickup. Then they got Bub Means, one of the best names in the draft. Bub means what? Bub means touchdowns. Bub means love. Bub means win. If Bub catches a game-winning touchdown or does something big, people can say Bub means touchdown. Bub means success. Bub means playoffs. This can be used for so many things. I'm going to copyright and TM that. Speaking of copyrights, Pittsburgh, Bub means blank is going to be my saying, people. So if you hear it from anywhere else, they got it from here. 5th round, Pittsburgh wide receiver. Jalen Ford, Texas linebacker, goes. And then they go offensive and defensive line. They get Christian Boyd out of Northern Iowa, D-tackle, and Josiah Ezarim out of Eastern Kentucky at O-tackle. So they get 2 offensive tackles in the 1st round. They get 1, and in the 7th round, they get 1 for Derek Carr and the crew. Spencer Rattler, a steal, and one of the best names of the draft. Bub Means, Pittsburgh wide receiver in the 5th round to New Orleans. What did Tampa do? Well, Tampa had a chance to get a guy whose name includes Tampa, but they did not get him. They go with center in the 1st round out of Duke, a team that I cover, Graham Barton. A lot of centers went in this draft. A lot of teams picking up a center, and Graham Barton gets chosen in this year's NFL draft by the Duke, coming out of Duke, chosen by Tampa. Graham Barton to block for Baker Mayfield, who has extended in Tampa instead of going anywhere else. 26th overall pick, Graham Barton. Then they went with Chris Braswell, edge rusher out of Alabama. Then they went Tykees Smith out of Georgia, a safety. So they go Alabama, Georgia. Then they go to the offensive side of the ball for the rest of the draft. They go with Jalen McMillan, who could be a steal in the third round, 29th pick of the 3rd round. The latter part of the 3rd round, Jalen McMillan, I got his draft card, or his first Bowman cards as well, out of Washington, wide receiver, and Bucky Irving, Oregon running back, to be a 4th running back on the team. Elijah Klein, UTEP offensive guard, and Devin Culp out of Washington, tight end. So they go Alabama, Georgia, and Washington players here in the draft, and then they pick a Duke Blue Devil to start things off. Tampa looking for the anchor of their offensive line, that centerpiece to lock it down, and then going with offensive and defensive line, and amidst all of that, getting Jalen McMillan, who I think is the one that I probably circle the most besides Graham Burton for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this draft assessment of them. We're going to go to the NFC East and the NFC West, but before we do that, we're going to look at the rest of our second to last pack of our box break. We're doing a post-draft analysis and a box break simultaneously. I've never seen it done before. We've never done it before, to do a box break and the draft analysis, opening up NFL cards while talking about the NFL draft. And we're bringing this to you proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks, our sports card shop of choice on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Make sure you head out there 7 days a week, 10 to 6, Monday through Saturday, and on Sundays from 10 to 5. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you, or you could say DT sent us. Miles Sanders in our base. Austin Eckler, who's not on the team anymore. John Mechie, who's got to figure things out, or else he might not be on Houston. Hoping the best for him. Kenny Pickett went from the one part of Pennsylvania to the other part of Pennsylvania, from one end to the other end. He's now a Philadelphia Eagle. A throwback jersey of Mac Jones, who is now a Jacksonville Jaguar, going back to his home state of Jacksonville, where he was born. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my Jaguars pile. Stephon Diggs, who's not on that team anymore. Jimmy Garoppolo, who's not on that team anymore. Oh, here we go. A Zeal card. Oh, this is cool. A Zeal of Approval. That's really cool. Instead of a Seal of Approval, because it's Panini Zenith, a Zeal of Approval that looks like those old markings that they would make when they would close a letter and send it out. Ahmad Sauce Gardner Zeal of Approval. I gave him my Zeal of Approval when he was at Cincinnati, and I chose him to be drafted 4th overall by the Jets, which he was, and now I got a Zeal of Approval insert. That's awesome. I like that. And we got a DJ Turner rookie card here, red parallel. We got a Nolan Smith, who I covered in college out of Georgia, rookie card on Philly. And we got a Cam Smith rookie card out of Miami. So that means we have one pack left. It says on the box that on average there is an auto or a memorabilia card. We have not pulled either, which means that if they're in here, I correctly chose the last pack to be the biggest kind of excitement, kind of drum roll for here for this box, this mega box of Zenith from GG Cards and Breaks. So our final pack we will open as we continue the conversation on the post-draft analysis. We're going to go to the NFC East, which means we're going to start with Dallas. Dallas goes and gets offensive tackle out of Oklahoma, Tyler Guyton. They needed another O-tackle. Like I said, Zach Martin out of Notre Dame has done a ton for them in history. They needed another offensive tackle to help this line move forward and be consistent here. And so now we have an offensive line with Zach Martin being their right guard, Tyler Smith being their left tackle currently, and maybe right tackle, or we see a movement at left tackle, but we have Zach Martin here. They needed another offensive lineman. Excuse me if I said offensive tackle, because Zach Martin's a guard, and they got Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. Then the Cowboys went and got edge rusher out of Western Michigan, Marshawn Nealand. Then they got Cooper Beebe, one of my favorite names of the draft, out of Kansas State, offensive guard. So they did what I thought the Jaguars should do. They went offensive and defensive line for their first multiple picks. They went O-tackle, edge, offensive guard. Then they went linebacker, corner, wide receiver, Ryan Flournoy out of Southeast Missouri State. In the 6th round is the first time they got a receiver. Nathan Thomas, O-tackle, and D-tackle, Justin Rogers. So out of all the picks that the Cowboys had, they went O-line, D-line for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks. 5 of their 8 picks were offensive or defensive line, which is what I thought Jacksonville should do. So my second favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys, did what I thought my first favorite team would do, which is draft offensive and defensive line predominantly. The Dallas Cowboys going to, in the NFC East, from the Cowboys to the next team in alphabetical order, which will bring us to the New York Football Giants. We have Malik Neighbors. This was my predicted pick for them out of LSU, wide receiver, 6th overall. That they took exactly who I thought they would take. They only had 6 picks in the draft, and they went with Tyler Nubin out of Minnesota, at safety in the middle part of the second round. In the third round, Andrew Phillips, cornerback out of Kentucky. So they went wide receiver DB in these first 3 rounds. And then they went Penn State tight end Theo Johnson. They do need some help at tight end after losing Evan Engram years ago. It's now time for them to try and figure out what's going on in this respect. So Andrew Phillips here out of Kentucky is who I mentioned before. And then Theo Johnson out of Penn State could be a steal in the early part. The 7th pick of the 4th round could be their guy, as they've been looking to have a guy at wide receiver and a guy at tight end. They got Neighbors and they got Theo Johnson. We'll see how those pan out. Maybe they end up being Daniel Jones's guys. They did not draft a quarterback, so they're going to continue with Daniel Jones, who does not have any guaranteed money after this year. And then Tyrone Tracy Jr., running back out of Purdue in the 5th round. And in the 6th round, they went with Darius Muwaso out of UCLA, linebacker there. So, I know some Giants fans wanted a quarterback. They went with getting a potential tight end number 1 and a wide receiver 1 in this draft to try and give Daniel Jones some help. They lose Saquon Barkley and only pick up a 5th round running back in the draft wise for the New York Football Giants. So as the Giants go into this upcoming season, the Giants are going to have on their depth chart as of right now, beyond making any other moves, the Giants quarterback is Daniel Jones. Tommy DeVito still on the team. Drew Lock was brought in from Seattle via Denver, who drafted him. They have Devin Singletary at running back, and really no household names. So they have Devin Singletary, who used to be the running back starter for the Buffalo Bills, who didn't pan out. So maybe this pickup in the 5th round of Tyrone Tracy Jr. out of Purdue, maybe that's a guy that we see a lot of. And then they have Malik Neighbors with Darius Slayton, Wendell Robinson, who did some good things last year, Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee, Isaiah McKenzie, a former Bill. So we'll see Gunnar Olszewski, who's another guy that could make this team and do some things. And then Darren Waller, they brought in him to be the name at tight end. Theo Johnson, could he take that from Darren Waller? I'm surprised the Raiders ever let Darren Waller go, but we shall see. And a good morning to my mom out there. To continue on with the NFC East, we got one more pack to open. We are doing a simultaneous box break with our draft analysis. First time ever making history on Wake Up Call. We do box breaks. We do draft analysis every year. Now we're doing them both together, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks. They say on average there's either a memorabilia card or an autograph card per box, per mega box of Zenith. We have not found one yet. And I choose what packs I'm going to open, and I try to be strategic. I did not open this pack yet. And if we're going to get an auto or a memorabilia card, it would be in this pack. So how cool is that this was my predicted last pack to open here, and this could end up being that big card that we're looking for. We did get some really awesome cards, and arguably some big cards that I'll be trading or selling soon at your next GG Cards and Breaks trade night, which I'm excited about, which will be coming up here in May. Very much looking forward to it. We just had another successful one at the Wildcat Sports Pub. We do them at the Wildcat on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, and we do them at the store at GG Cards and Breaks on site on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave. We are doing our post-draft analysis while we open up these packs. We've opened up 5 packs. We have one more to open of the 6-pack mega box, 84 cards in total. The next team to go to before we open that is Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles got Quinion Mitchell. Quinion Mitchell, cornerback, Toledo, on the draft board for the Jaguars. They did not take him at 17. They traded down to 23. They did not get him at 23 as he was taken a pick before. So would they have taken Quinion Mitchell if he was still there? I had edge rusher Jared Verse out of FSU, Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama, Quinion Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo, and wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU as my potential picks for Jacksonville. I ultimately chose Brian Thomas Jr. That was correct. Quinion Mitchell went a pick before here. to the Philadelphia Eagles. And then they went with Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, a corner that I thought would go in the latter part of the first round. He goes in the early part of the second round, 8th pick of the second round. And then Jalix Hunt out of Houston Christian, an edge rusher. Then they go running back Will Shipley, who I covered in college as well, out of Clemson. They go with him, the running back, 4th round, latter part. Then they went with Anias Smith out of Texas A&M, wide receiver. Then they went linebacker, offensive guard, wide receiver, offensive guard. So bringing in Johnny Wilson, wide receiver out of Florida State in the 6th round early. And then they went in the 6th round. They had the 9th pick in the 6th round and the 14th pick in the 6th round. And they went Johnny Wilson, Florida State wide receiver, and Dylan McMahon, NC State offensive guard. Two guys from teams I cover in the ACC. They picked a lot of ACC players. They went with Jeremiah Trotter Jr., linebacker out of Clemson in the 5th round. So the Philadelphia Eagles, you talk about whether or not there's respect for ACC football, they went with 4 of their picks coming from the ACC. 2 out of Clemson, 1 out of Florida State, 1 out of NC State from the 4th to the 6th round. So on that 3rd day of the NFL draft, the 3rd and final day, they got 2 Clemson guys, a Florida State and an NC State player, and they assessed their defense in this draft heavily with back-to-back corners that they took, and then going edge rusher, and then running back, wide receiver, and then back to the defense, linebacker, and then they went offensive line and wide receiver. So assessing their defense early for Philadelphia and trying to make another run at the Super Bowl after winning a Super Bowl just a few years back and then losing a Super Bowl a couple of years ago to Kansas City. The final team that we have for the NFC East post-draft analysis is the quarterback that I picked ultimately to go to Washington, Jaden Daniels. And we'll see how he does here. He's going to be a different style of quarterback than what they've had in recent history. Jaden Daniels, probably the most exciting thing to happen to the Commanders in potentially the last 5 years at least, if not the last decade. And then they brought Jerzon Newton, defensive tackle out of Illinois. Then they went corner Mike in the second. They had 3 picks in the second round, the Commanders did. So they had the 4th pick of the second round, the 18th, and the 21st. They went with Jerzon Newton, Illinois D tackle, Mike Sanristil, Michigan corner, and Ben Sinnott of Kansas State tight end, as they need some help in the tight end world, as you know, their tight end room getting older. Brandon Coleman, offensive guard out of TCU in the 3rd round. Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver out of Rice, another team I cover, got him in the 3rd round. In the 5th round, Jordan McGee, that I cover out of Temple, linebacker. Then they went safety and edge rusher. So we saw them go with their quarterback first, then they go defense for 2 picks, then they go offense for 3, and then they go back to defense for the last 3. They had a ton of picks. Washington, hopefully these picks will hit for them, as they had the 2nd overall pick in the 1st round. Then they had 3 second-round picks and 2 third-round picks. So hopefully those actually shape up for them, as they had a ton of draft capital in the 2024 NFL draft within the first 3 rounds. Let's hit our last division in our complete post-draft analysis, with me giving you thoughts on every single one of the 32 teams. I did that going in. I did a show on what every team needed, all 32 teams, AFC, North, South, East, West, NFC, North, South, East, West, in that order. You can go back and listen to it on any one of our channels, and you can go back and watch it on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Now I'm giving you all 32 teams 2024 post-draft analysis while doing a box break, making history on Wake Up Call of having a box break simultaneous with our NFL draft coverage, opening our NFL draft packs. We got one more pack. If we're going to get an autograph or a memorabilia card, it's going to be in this pack, as we have not opened it yet. So by the way I open the packs, this ends up being the biggest drum roll of it all, and I'm very, very excited about it. So of any way we could end the box break, we're ending it on the highest anticipation of a pack. And with that, we're going to open this pack, and then we will discuss ultimately the NFC West in a post-draft analysis. So let's see here. Is it going to be auto, or is it going to be memorabilia? Well, Well, it looks like it's going to be memorabilia. Yep, it's going to be a memorabilia card. I don't know who it is. It could be a Raider. It looks like it might be a Raider. So, because I kind of saw a black jersey here. So, we're going to talk about the Arizona Cardinals first here, but we're going to go through some of these cards. So, second year of a guy covered at Cincinnati, wide receiver Alec Pierce. CeeDee Lamb. Harrison Smith. Javonte Williams, I covered at North Carolina. Ramondre Stevenson. Hayden Hurst. Derrick Henry, who is now a Baltimore Raven. That could be huge for them. Devin Singletary, who I mentioned was on Buffalo, then was on Houston. Devin Singletary has found himself a new home in the NFL, so no more Singletary there. And so Devin Singletary, who didn't really catch on with the Buffalo Bills, then goes to the Houston Texans for a season, and now we have Devin Singletary on the New York Giants, so we'll see how that works out with him. You realize he went from a team that was blue to a team that was blue to a team that was blue. Then we have Michael Pittman Jr., Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, who's now an Atlanta Falcon, Josh Allen. We got two cards here. We got a rookie card of Colby Wooden out of Green Bay. And we have Luke Schoonmaker, tight end for the Dallas Cowboys rookie card, which means we have two cards left. We have a memorabilia card, and we have a Thunder and Lightning. Let's freaking go. We got a Thunder and Lightning insert, a chrome insert, Thunder and Lightning of DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba. DK the veteran, Jackson Smith the young gun here. That's really cool here. DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba, Thunder and Lightning, which means that our last card is a memorabilia card. I have not looked at it. It is a Raider. I did see that it's a Raider. I don't know who it is. I have done my best to not look at the card and see the name, which I haven't yet. So let's get into, before I unveil this card, which is covered on my desk right now, let us go to the NFC West in our draft analysis. They stayed at number 4, which surprised me, and they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. Arizona had a ton of picks in this draft. They had 2 in the first, 1 in the second, 4 in the third round. So this is crazy. So you got 2 in the first round for Arizona, right? You got 2 in the first round, 1 in the second round, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the third round, 1 in the fourth round, 2 in the fifth round, 1 in the sixth, 1 in the seventh. They had 12 picks in this draft, the Arizona Cardinals did. So that trade that they made for Will Anderson Jr. to go to the Houston Texans at 3rd overall, Arizona in the 2024 NFL draft having some fun draft capital. So the 2023 trade between the Cardinals and the Texans in the draft, this is what it had. Arizona traded the number 3 pick to Houston with the Cardinals. So Arizona handed the number 3 pick to Houston. In return, they got the number 12 and the number 33 picks along with a 3rd rounder in that draft. And then the Cardinals end up getting all of these other picks. So that pick with the Texans helps them in that draft. Then Arizona gets all of these other picks. 2 in the first round, 1 in the second, 4 picks in the third round. That means that they had 7 picks in the first 2 days. Huge. If these hit for them, because Arizona needs all the help in the world in all different parts of their team. They stayed and they picked Marvin Harrison Jr. I was surprised. I thought that they were going to trade this pick, and ultimately, I thought they were going to trade this pick, and we were going to see Minnesota go up and get J.J. McCarthy and then Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to go to the Chargers. That didn't happen. So Marvin Harrison Jr. remains a Cardinal, which means I owe a pizza to Al Romano, which I'm okay with. Huge pickup, Marvin Harrison Jr. I actually sold his card at the Fishtown show that we just did in Philadelphia over the weekend. I sold his blue ice that I got, and blue sapphire, whatever it's called, and of the Bowman first. I sold that card. Darius Robinson, they get in the first round, 27th overall, edge rusher out of Missouri. Then they get Max Melton, cornerback, 11th pick of the second round out of Rutgers. Trey Benson, running back out of Florida State, goes to Arizona to be behind James Conner. Isaiah, or maybe fight for the starting job. In the third round, they also get, in the third round, they had the second pick of the third round, the 7th, the 18th, and the 27th. They got Trey Benson, running back, Florida State. Isaiah Adams, offensive tackle, Illinois. Tip Riemann, tight end, Illinois. So back-to-back Illinois guys out of that third round. Back-to-back guys that were there with the Fighting Illini. Boston College corner, Elijah Jones. Then in the fourth round, they got Dadrian Taylor Demerson out of Texas Tech, safety. Fifth round, they got Xavier Thomas, edge rusher out of Clemson. Christian Jones, offensive tackle out of Texas in the fifth round. And then in the sixth round, they got Tejuan Palmer, UAB wide receiver. Very excited for him, a team that I cover. And Miami corner, Jaden Davis from another team that I cover. So I think this is ultimately a good draft for the Arizona Cardinals. They assessed their secondary. They assessed their edge rushers. They got another wide receiver later on after getting Marvin Harrison. They got a running back. They got some offensive line help. 2 offensive tackles coming onto the team. So hopefully block better for Kyler Murray. And I didn't think they were going to take Marvin Harrison because they traded for DeAndre Hopkins when he was arguably the best player, best wide receiver in the draft in the NFL at the time. They trade for him. Now he's a Tennessee Titan. They go and get Marquise Hollywood Brown away from Baltimore. They use him for a season. Now he's not on the team anymore. So my thing was, are they really going to put a lot of emphasis at wide receiver? They need a wide receiver, but do they really appreciate the position? Because it looks like, they're willing to let go of these guys that were supposed to be their number one. So I thought, would they take another number one? And they did. They took Marvin Harrison Jr. to be their top guy right away. I hope this works out swimmingly for Arizona. I didn't trust them to make this pick. I didn't trust Arizona to just make the easy pick, but they did. So I owe El Romano a pizza, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I like that they assessed their defense. I like that they brought in Trey Benson from Florida State. I still really like James Conner and have all the respect in the world for him and his fight against cancer and leg injuries and everything he's been through. God bless to him, and may he heal. May we all heal and be healthy, safe, and happy always, and have a great long life that is filled with more good than not so great, and the not so great may we learn from, so it ends up being good anyways. In Jesus' name, amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. So, I like the picks of Arizona. I like that they had a ton of them. I like what they did. I like that they assessed really their whole team, which they kind of needed to do. You got offensive and defensive line, wide receiver. You got secondary, backfield, tight end, defensive line. The only thing they didn't get was a linebacker. So I'm good with it. A linebacker, a punter, or a kicker. Or a long snapper. So I'm good with Arizona. And I think this could end up really being the draft that hopefully shifts their team in the right direction. Or you could see the end of Kyler Murray there. So we shall see. From the Arizona Cardinals, we're going to go down in our last team that we're covering here. We're giving you the NFC West, which goes from Arizona to our last few teams here, which will be, we're going to have obviously the Seahawks and the Niners coming up. But before we go there, we must go to the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams got who I had on the list for Jacksonville. He came from UAlbany, transferred to Florida State. I interviewed him when he got to Florida State. The 6'4", 254-pound edge rusher went 19th overall to the Los Angeles Rams, who need help on their defensive line with the retirement in his early 30s of Aaron Donald. Arguably one of the best on a defensive line ever. They go Jared Verse, edge rusher, 19th overall in the first round. Then the Rams go and get Braden Fisk, defensive tackle out of Florida State. So they put Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, who both came from Florida State, on the same team, which is an awesome story after they were completely screwed out of the college football playoff. So to see these teammates reunite in the NFL with the Rams, really cool. Then they go and get Blake Corum out of Michigan, running back for the Rams, who need help at running back. They've had a committee for a while and it hasn't worked. They get Cameron Kinchins out of Miami, safety in the third round. They had 2 picks in the third round, Blake Corum and Cameron Kitchens. And then they get Brennan Jackson, Washington State, another edge rusher. They get Tyler Davis out of Clemson, a D tackle. So you got Florida State and Clemson D linemen playing together now on the Rams. You got Joshua Carty, Stanford place kicker in the 6th round. Jordan Whittington, Texas wide receiver. Then they go center and offensive guard to round out their draft with Bo Limmer out of Arkansas and KT Leviston out of Kansas State. So we see them spend a lot of time on offensive and defensive line, and we see a potential starting running back for them and a late wide receiver to help out Puka Nacua, who was a huge hit for them out of the ballpark in the 2023 NFL draft. And, of course, Cooper Kupp on the team as well. So I like this for them. I love that the Florida State defensive line gets to stay together partially and that they're going to play with a Clemson D tackle and Tyler Davis, who I've had on the show. And so Braden Fisk, Tyler Davis, Jared Verse, I like the future of the defensive line for the Rams. And we'll see. You know, Kinchins is a guy that I'm going to look at, safety out of Miami, their 3rd-round pick, and Blake Corum at running back. I'm going to be watching him as well as seeing if this place kicker, Joshua Carty out of Stanford, is going to be their kicker to stay in the state of California and go from the Stanford Cardinal to the Los Angeles Rams. That'll be interesting. Seattle is our next team here. They go with Byron Murphy II. They go with him 16th overall. I thought Byron Murphy would go a little bit. I actually had him going to Chicago when I was like, oh, maybe they'll take a defensive lineman, when I really thought they were going to go with Roma Dunze, so I should have just said that all the way through because that was my original pick. Byron Murphy goes a little bit later, 16th overall, out of Texas to Seattle. I like that. I like them getting an edge rusher for Seattle to, try and make this, or defensive tackle, out of Seattle, out of Texas, going to Seattle to try and help them out. Christian Haynes I had as the first offensive guard off the board. He ends up going in the 3rd round, so he dropped out of UConn. Tyrese Knight out of UTEP, linebacker there. And then A.J. Barner for Michigan, tight end. They've moved around their tight ends, used a bunch of guys. He could be the guy of the future for them. Nehemiah Pritchett out of Auburn, their corner goes. And then Satawa Laumia out of Utah, offensive guard. DJ James, a corner, and an offensive tackle. So we saw Seattle go defensive tackle, and then they spent the rest of the draft going defense and offensive line. Here we saw them go so we look at, for all their picks, of the 8 picks that they had, they went offensive and defensive line combined. They went with 4 of their picks here. 4 of their 8 picks. So 50% of their picks went to their line, 3 to the offensive line, 1 to the defensive line, 2 corners, a tight end who's another blocker, and a linebacker. So they really went heavy on blocking on offense and then a little bit of defensive line love for Seattle. So they obviously want to get their protection better in Seattle for their quarterback, who will continue to be. I thought a couple years ago they might draft a quarterback. Then I thought last year they might draft a quarterback. Geno Smith's been working out so much that they got rid of Drew Lock. And now they've really locked in on Geno Smith being their guy in Seattle for this team. I mean, when we look at the Seahawks and we look at their depth chart, they have gone now 3 years without focusing on bringing in a quarterback. Geno Smith's their guy, and they brought in Sam Howell from the Washington Commanders, and that's what they got. Sam Howell, I think, is a level up from Drew Lock, so I think that's good for them as their backup. But for 3 years in a row, Seattle has not been drafting quarterbacks. They've really leaned in to Geno Smith. So it's been an interesting road here. They have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, who I have a 3 out of 3 card of. And then Laviska Shenault, who went from the Jaguars to the Lions. Now he's found himself with Seattle. And then they still have Dwayne Eskridge and Jake Bobo. So I think they got some good stuff here. I think the wide receiver core, the 1, 2, and 3, Metcalf, Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, I think that could arguably be one of the best in the country, and definitely giving a ton of weapons for no excuses for Geno Smith. Our final team that we're going to talk about before I unveil my last card of my box break. Oh, no, that is the final team. Oh, no, we got to hit San Francisco. So San Francisco got Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver out of Florida. Go Gators for Papa Joe, the 6'1", 189-pound wide receiver, going to the Niners. Now, here's some history. 20 years ago, the NFL saw 7 receivers go in the first round of the 2004 draft. In 2024, the record was tied of 7 wide receivers going in the first round. Here's some history. 2004 and 2024 mirror themselves, that 7 wide receivers were chosen, which is the record, tied for both years here. The record overall for most wide receivers ever chosen in any first round of the NFL draft. In 2004, the Cardinals took the first wide receiver of that run of 7. They took Larry Fitzgerald. 20 years later, they also took the first wide receiver of the run. It's Marvin Harrison Jr. The Jaguars were part of the 7 in 2004, taking Reggie Williams. Part of the 7 this year, taking Brian Thomas Jr. And then we go to the fact that back in 2004, we saw the San Francisco 49ers draft a wide receiver at 31st overall. They drafted Rashawn Woods, and at 31st overall, they drafted Ricky Pearsall. So some cool history between the two, that if we go 2004, 7 wide receivers in the first round, 2024, 7 wide receivers in the first round, and Arizona took the first one in both years, and then we saw Jacksonville a part of it in both years, and then San Francisco was the 31st pick in the 2004 NFL draft and the 31st pick of the 2024 NFL draft. And with the 31st pick both years, they took a wide receiver both times, Rashawn Woods and Ricky Pearsall. So Pearsall is the go-gator that goes for San Fran. Then they go to the last pick of the second round, get Renardo Green, Florida State corner. Then they go offensive tackle for San Fran, safety, wide receiver, or safety, running back, wide receiver, offensive guard, linebacker. So we see them go 2 wide receivers, Jacob Cowing out of Arizona in the 4th round, who I have his rookie card. Isaac Guerendo out of Louisville, running back in the 4th round behind CMC. And then they get Malik Mustafa, safety out of Wake Forest in the 4th round. They get Jarrett Kingston to be their offensive guard in the 6th round. 3rd round, they got Dominic Puni out of Kansas. So you got an O-tackle and an offensive guard to help block and create some depth for Brock Purdy. And then in the 7th round, the second to last, or in the 31st pick of the 7th round, they got Tatum Bethune out of Florida State, linebacker. So they brought in 2 teammates, Green and Bethune from Florida State. And they also go ACC for Wake Forest, Mustafa, Louisville, Guerendo. So they drafted a lot of the ACC going to San Francisco. And Ricky Pearsall to help them out in their receiving core. Maybe Jacob Cowing. And we'll see what Florida State corner can do. Renardo Green, who might have to step in and do something right away for San Fran. And with that being said, this is hilarious. So I opened up a box and got a Trey Turner rookie sweater. And my rookie card memorabilia insert of this box is a Trey Turner Rookie Stallions. So I've opened up 2 boxes and gotten, in 2 boxes that I've opened up, and I think they're both from GG Cards and Breaks. In the 2 boxes I opened up, my memorabilia card was Trey Turner in both boxes, a rookie sweater and now a Rookie Stallions. And this is a refractor rookie card of Trey Turner. And so hopefully Trey Turner has himself a wonderful season coming up, because I now have both. I have 2 memorabilia cards of him. So to look back on this box break that was done during the draft analysis, making history for my first ever draft analysis slash box break in the history of Wake Up Call, and honestly in the history of any show I've seen. I haven't seen anybody do a box break and draft analysis simultaneously. So to make that history with you, I'm going to go back and show you all of my notable cards that are going to be put in sleeves and top loaders. So let's go ahead and show you all of these. These are my rookies. Okay, so once again, the memorabilia card of Trey Turner. My rookie cards that I received: Will Levis, Emmanuel Forbes, Stetson Bennett, Keely Ringo, which is a red parallel, Jacorian Bennett, red parallel rookie card of Anthony Richardson, Tucker Kraft, Derek Hall, red parallel rookie card of DJ Turner, Luke Schoonmaker, Colby Wooden, Cam Smith, and Nolan Smith. Those are my rookies that I got. So I got a Levis and a red parallel Richardson. Those are the best ones I pulled for my rookies of this. So those are going to get top loaded. Then I got a red parallel of Devontae Smith. My Jaguars here: Christian Kirk and Mac Jones. Mac Jones still with the Patriots jersey on. And then my other inserts are my Chrome Black Zenith Aaron Jones, who's now on the Raiders. My I called it behind the numbers, Anthony Richardson rookie. Behind the numbers, Zay Flowers rookie. Pat Mahomes Chrome, which is cool to say. A Travis Etienne Stars insert refractor of my Jaguars. Thunder and Lightning, DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Zeal of Approval, Sauce Gardner. Class President, chalkboard looking one here, black and white of Eli Manning. A Will Levis rookie insert red, and a CJ Stroud Chrome insert rookie as well. So I did really well on the quarterbacks here with Strouds and Levis and Richardsons. 2 Levis I got in this one. And we did that entire box break while assessing the draft, all 32 teams. And that's the first time we've ever done it on Wake Up Call. Making history here today with a draft analysis / box break simultaneous happening from GG Cards and Breaks. We'll give our final step aside here, and we'll wrap up the show right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is our sports card shop of choice. You can find them on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse 7 days a week, open Monday through Saturday from 10 to 6, and on Sundays from 10 to 5. Head out to GG Cards and Breaks for hockey, baseball, basketball, football, soccer, all sport, AEW, as well as UFC and so much more, including Disney Lorcana and Pokemon cards. They're also the only store that I know that has every MLB, NBA, and NFL team in their own respective box. You can go through those boxes and find your favorite players. And of course, you can add to your amazing collection. Those boxes don't just have basic cards, folks. They have rookies, they have potential patch cards, refractor cards, numbered cards, and autographs within those boxes for your favorite NFL, NBA, and MLB franchises. And you can find everything that you need, from your all different size top loaders to your sleeves to your one-touch cases, as well as your different things that you can have for your booklets to put the booklets away, as those are very unique in how you're going to protect those booklets that you have, like the one that I have of Malachi Richardson. And you can find all of that, your binders, your boxes, your pages to put your cards in. All of that is located for you on site at GG Cards and Breaks. So if you've never collected cards before, you can go there and get everything you need to protect your cards, plus buy a box, plus buy singles. They have a whole lot of graded cards that all came in. So they changed out some of their display cases to have amazing graded cards. I got my Donovan McNabb graded card there that I went and sold out in Philadelphia at the Fishtown Card Show. So definitely go in there and see all the new product that they have, the singles, the graded cards, the packs, and the boxes, changing all the time. You never know what collection's going to come in, what they're going to buy from, and you never know what boxes and packs, as well as, just different things that they'll have to open. Like I said, those graded cards that have come in have totally changed the display cases. They look absolutely amazing, exquisite. There's a lot of them in there I want to buy, so you got to get in there before me. And they replenished the Panini Zenith, which I opened today. So there's so many great things at GG Cards and Breaks. We look forward to going in there and today finding something to add to your collection. And a big time shout out for them being a part of the Panini Player of the Day, which ended up with me winning and taking home this t-shirt, a poster of the rookies, as well as this auto from starting running back of the Buffalo Bills, James Cook, just easily written as JC. And this is numbered 12 out of only 15 in the world. And I got it from being a part of GG Cards and Breaks and buying over there. So make sure that you get over to GG Cards and Breaks today, 639 Delmar Place at Syracuse, New York. With that being said, I want to thank you for tuning in inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' to our NFL Draft coverage, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks with our box break of the 2023 Panini Zenith football. I want to thank our Bearcat Breakroom Spotlight guest, student athlete for the Binghamton University Bearcats women's basketball team, Denai Bowman, on the heels of winning the John Bilos Award for outstanding career achievements as a female student athlete at Binghamton. So a big time shout out to Denai for winning that and for making her speech about her why and talking about that and getting into that with us here today. And a big time shout out to the Ingredients to Success, which is the final piece of today's show, proudly presented by the incredible team at Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Open Tuesday through Sunday. They are closed on Mondays, and so you can go and see them Tuesday through Sunday on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. It is our exclusive home of our Liverpool Warriors Spotlight broadcast shows monthly. We got one coming up next week here with the Liverpool Warriors, and I can't wait. We've been doing our shows for many years at Liverpool, or at Avicolli's. I believe we're going into year number 5 at Avicolli's, covering the Liverpool Warriors on site, on location. And you can come out and see those shows right down the road within walking distance from Liverpool High School. Of course, they're there for lunch, dinner, and drinks at Avicolli's. We ask you to drink responsibly when you're there. For those of you of age, to make sure you drink responsibly, and make sure that you get yourself over to the wonderful Avicolli's for lunch, dinner, and drinks. They have their pizza side, the casual side, and they have the fine dining side as well. So plenty of different ways to enjoy them. You can also call them for takeout, delivery, and catering by calling 315-622-5100. And of course, you can go to myavicollis.com. My ingredients to success topic today is all about teamwork. So teamwork here is something that I definitely appreciate. Teamwork is crucial to the success of a business, to the success of a marriage, to the success of a family, to the success of a literal team. Teamwork, they always say teamwork makes the dream work. The ingredients to success for teamwork: listening, compromise where you can, having morals and values that the team collectively gets behind. So listening, morals and values, compromise where you can, speaking up and sharing ideas, not being one of those people that's silent on the team and then says, well, I wish somebody did this, or I wish we did that, when you didn't vocalize that. So vocalizing things, speaking up, is important to teamwork. Caring for each other, selflessness, sacrificing the individual for the team. And, really, I think it comes down to other things you need with everything. Good time management, being on time or being early, being willing to work at something, practice at something. Practice makes perfect is a very real thing. I tell people all the time that, some people balk at cliches, but cliche also means true. The cliches that I hear all the time, like practice makes perfect, cliches are very true statements. Practice does help to make you the best that you can be. So I think, constant practice is important in teamwork. And I think, also in teamwork, the ingredients to success for that is being able to take constructive criticism and give constructive criticism. Being able to absorb it and know that someone wants the best for you, and then being able to speak to someone in a critical way with love and respect. Constructively criticizing and not destructively criticizing is a huge part of teamwork. So those are my ingredients to success put in the pot for teamwork here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Make sure you get in touch with them, and make sure you definitely go over there for fantastic food and service to a place that has absolutely been incredible for decades in our community. I love their pizza. I love their pasta. I love their seafood dishes. I have so many things that I get. I'm a fan of their wings as well. Love the honey barbecue. You can't go wrong at Avicolli's. And I look forward to you going over there today and trying their amazing food and supporting local. Ingredients to Success comes to you at the end of every Tuesday broadcast, exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, proudly presented by Avicolli's. And we're at Avicolli's once a month with the Liverpool Warriors Spotlight broadcast. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for watching and listening in our extended coverage of the show on Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., or past 12 on today's broadcast. on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So I thank you for tuning in on all of our channels. And of course, once we go live, you could find us in the archive on Amazon Music, Audible, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And of course, a big time thanks to all of our amazing partners that you can visit in Central and Upstate New York. Go and see them at Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, as well as GG Cards and Breaks, Avicolli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Pizza Man, Great Lakes Honda City, and Mother's Cupboard. Of course, we are also the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins by tuning in for Dolphin Time every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, exclusively on Wake Up Call. In our multimedia marketing partnership, you will find AD and DT the first and third Wednesday of each month, featuring Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. The second and fourth Wednesday, you'll find the Dolphin Dive, diving into stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. You can catch all of this by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Lemoyne Dolphins playlist. The Dolphins are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to lemoynedolphins.com. And as always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse have an exclusive Bobcat Buzz coming up to you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Wake Up Call, with the baseball team wrapping up year number 2 with the future of the team in DJ Hill and Taj Walden, as well as head coach Sean Peak. The Bobcat Buzz comes to you monthly on Wake Up Call in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. You can find all of our Bobcat Buzz episodes with men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, baseball, esports, and their administration by simply going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and the notification bell, and you'll find the BSC Syracuse playlist. For the Bobcats, also, you'll find them on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. More information can be found at syracuse.bscbobcats.com. Go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You will find your Bearcats every single month, every single week during Bearcat Time. Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Bearcat Time is exclusive to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our multimedia marketing partnership. And each month we feature specials known as Moments with Marshall, featuring Binghamton University Athletics Director Gene Marshall and our student athletes, coaches, and administration, and what we like to call the Bearcat Breakroom, like the spotlight we had today on the career of Denai Bowman of Binghamton University Bearcats women's basketball history and future, in my opinion, Hall of Famer. You can find all of our Bearcat coverage by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell. And you can also find our Binghamton University playlist on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Find the Bearcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, as well as underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to bubearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said on Wake Up Call, I want to thank you all for tuning in to History Made on Wake Up Call, doing our first ever box break and NFL draft analysis simultaneously, giving you a 2024 post-draft analysis with notes on all 32 NFL franchises while opening our mega box of Panini Zenith 2023. Got some awesome quarterbacks, great inserts. We got the refractor memorabilia card of Trey Turner of the Raiders, and we got to talk about all of the 32 teams, covering fans all around the world of every team in the NFL, proudly presented by GG Cards and Breaks. We brought you our Bearcat Breakroom and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Binghamton University Bearcats. A big time thanks to Denai Bowman, the winner of the John Bilos Award for outstanding career achievements on the female student athlete side. And of course, many thanks to her for all she's done with women's basketball and as a human being in general. And of course, I heard all great things about Denai, and if anything, she was even more than what I heard. And the ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli's, focusing on teamwork. And who knows ingredients better than Avicolli's, who puts together some amazing creations and brings that to you in our community. If I'm going to trust somebody putting ingredients together for something I want to have, it's Avicolli's. And so the ingredients to success, brought to you by the wonderful people at Avicolli's. Thank you to John and Nick and the entire team at Avicolli's for all of the work that you do. Much appreciation for being amazing, and we look forward to being at Avicolli's very soon. For that, I want to thank you for being on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. We'll talk with you soon. Coming off a great weekend in the Poconos with my brother Brendan Murphy, and of course a great time for the second time around at the Fishtown Card Show out of the Rivers Casino in Philadelphia. Go and watch our video about that on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Thank you for joining me in making history today on Wake Up Call by doing our first ever box break simultaneous with our show coverage of any topic, and today being the draft analysis. So covering the NFL draft while opening a box of NFL cards coming from GG Cards and Breaks, proudly presenting the segment. We'll talk with you soon. God bless y'all. No stress. Do your best. Have a wonderful day, and